welcome to the CNBC-TV18.com presents the SaaS Chronicles, powered by AWS, a series of engaging and insightful conversations that brings together leaders from the software as a service ecosystem. And I'm your host, Ruchira Sharma. The software as a service or the SaaS ecosystem in India is expected to boom with an estimated market capital of a whopping $700 billion to $1 trillion by the year 2030. And with India's developer pool being more than 3 million, there is clearly a lot of potential for robust performance and immense growth. So, after the phenomenal success of season 1, we move into season 2 of the SaaS Chronicles journey, where we aim to decode and understand India's growth potential in the vibrant SaaS ecosystem. We will speak to leaders and understand from them the challenges that they need to overcome and the opportunities that lie ahead. The season of SaaS Chronicles also focuses on people, processes, and technology, the three pillars that define this vibrant space. India is home to more than 80 lakh registered MSMEs as of March 31st, 2022, and 95% of them are micro enterprises. These small businesses need adequate credit to grow and thrive in the current volatile and competitive landscape. They also need funds to overcome unforeseen situations and unprecedented challenges. Well, the good news is that advanced technology like SaaS can enable such businesses to avail financing via various digital channels easily and on time. All kinds of small businesses, ranging from pharmacies to restaurants to franchisees and real estate agents or hotels, even doctors can access necessary funding online without worrying about lengthy approval routes. And that is the focus of this discussion, leveraging SaaS power to revolutionize SME financing. And to know more about this entire landscape and understand how SaaS is powering SME financing, we're in conversation with a very special guest. We have with us Mr. Vineet Tyagi, Global CTO, Biz2Credit and Biz2X. Welcome to the show, Mr. Vineet.
Thank you very much, and delighted to be a part of the show.
Great. We're really happy to have you here with us too. Before we deep dive into the entire Indian SME landscape and the current scenario when it comes to funding or their managing their entire funding systems, I'd like to first understand a little bit more about the company and how it has really grown into being one of the lending software companies, one of the leading lending software companies of the country.
So, to tell you about Biz2Credit and Biz2X, these are the two businesses we run, part of the same overall business that we are looking at. We are one of the first truly scaled digital non-backed lender or a fintech global at the global level, as you can consider. So, Biz2Credit is our lending operations, where we are currently lending to SMEs in the US market. We are a truly digital non-bank lender where we do not have any branches or feet on the street. We've been pioneer in this space from the perspective of that we started in 2011. And for the last 11 years, when we started, the world was not so digital as we know it today. So to really build the technology and a viable business in this digital space, we've come a long way. Today, we are recognized to be one of the largest and the pioneering fintech in this space. Last year, Biz2Credit did about $6 billion of lending in the US market targeting SMEs. And globally, we've done about $20 billion in originations using our technology, which is Biz2X. So the technology that we use for running our business of Biz2Credit. Since 2016, we have productized it and we've been offering that technology to global financial institutions, whosoever wants to digitize their lending and improve the efficiency, etc. We've been offering them the Biz2X technology. So happy to also share that with Biz2X, we are currently operating in three continents, four geographies: US, Canada, India, and Australia, where we are helping 30 plus large global banks, NBFCs, and financial institutions digitize their lending.
Great, that's wonderful. And as you mentioned, as a pioneering fintech with its presence in US, India, Canada, and Australia, could you tell us how are you really enabling business in getting access to credit? And of course, while doing so, you're also fueling the economy of these nations. So could you tell us in terms of the processing, how does it really pan out?
And to really understand, why SMEs should come to a digital or a fintech lender, despite being their banks in the traditional banking system being there. And I would like to answer that by flipping it around and saying, what are these problems that the SMEs face that leads them to seek access to credit elsewhere? So, if you globally look at it, less than 10% of SMEs have access to formal credit, and the
Hmm.
growth of the rate of contribution to the of the SMEs to the GDP of variety of nations is increasing, especially in the developing nations. So why is it that the current banking system is unable to fulfill this ever growing need? So one
Hmm.
thing is that naturally they deem it too risky. Some of these new to business or new businesses which are coming up operate in a very different system or business models which the banks don't understand. Banks traditionally have been working in a brick and mortar branch driven scenario where there are very high distribution and transaction cost involved in working with a customer, so they are unable to get the unit economics of giving smaller loans. They can't make money by giving smaller loans, and most of the MSMEs require micro or small loan tranches. Uh,
Absolutely.
the banks also suffer from information asymmetries, cumbersome processes which they have not digitized. And thankfully, the origination piece is getting digitized, but still the back office of the banks is not staying current or staying connected to the advances that are happening in the digital origination or the application process.
Absolutely. And thank you for sharing those insights. Definitely, SMEs do face unique challenges, and a quicker turnaround means a lot more to them than probably the larger enterprises. But every and each and every business has a very unique need. So, how do you really make sure that you meet those needs? And how easy is it for a business to get funding from your platform? What are the kind of factors that you keep in mind before releasing funds to them?
Right. It's it's a very it's easier said than done. Credit assessment is a part science and part art, as we call
Yes.
it. So the science part of it, we can always have the machines do it. The art part of it, which is what we excel at, that how can we apply more and more automation to it, more and more standardization, so that we can turn around the loans faster.
Mm,
So, really, if you look at it, how we are, able to understand the businesses is by looking at their cash flows.
sure.
Historical data on them may lack. They may not be in business for 5, 10 years to really have a track record. So what really matters is their future receivables, their future business growth, which industry are they operating in, and how they're likely to grow. So we really look at their cash flows, and we have over the years perfected our own algorithms, techniques of underwriting, where we can use non-linear data sets which are not used by banks, or which may be available from open data sets, or their order history or their receivables with different kind of customers they themselves work with, and then take a call at how successful their business is likely to be, based on which then we can give them the funds. So that ability and that effort that we have invested in understanding the cash flow of the business is really
Mhm.
what differentiates, and how we are able to better understand the customer.
Sure. Well, India, moving on to our next question, has emerged as the SaaS factory of the world. In fact, we recently overtook the UK and are now the world's third largest ecosystem after the US and China. 15 of 17 SaaS unicorns in India were created in the last 4 years. and another 8 to 12 are expected to likely come up by the end of 2022. So that is a really vibrant and phenomenal growth that we see. So what is the kind of advice that you would like to give India's 1100 plus SaaS companies and their founders as they look to, build on this new wave of growth?
Well, congratulations to the Indian entrepreneur in the Indian SaaS company for the achievement. But it is also a fact that 92%, it's a industry statistic and quoted by many researchers, that about 92% of all SaaS companies will fail within 3 years, despite getting the funding and having the growth potential. And because we also run a SaaS business, I've always been cognizant of that, and looking at why these failures happen, and then what must we learn from them, so that we are not the ones in that statistical zone to be the failure. I think some of the key things that I can share with the entrepreneurs out there would be, there is really an improper understanding of the size of the market sometimes. So
Hmm.
what that basically means is that you feel good about the product and the product's potential, but it's mostly a feeling based thing, that we have a great product and it solves a customer purpose, but is there a big potential for that? Secondly,
Definitely.
what we've seen is chasing of hyper growth. So that's another area. I've seen many SaaS startups that we work with, and I've advised that they've not had enough timely and enough focus initially on building a team.
All
It's been
right.
mostly the entrepreneur. So if you don't build a team, it becomes very difficult to scale. And once the scale need is there, it can
Hmm.
happen. It cannot be planned to the T. Sometimes it just happens. And you will become the entrepreneur becomes the bottleneck to scale and struggles. Other thing I would say is fourth thing, understanding and managing customer expectations. I think
Hmm.
that's also one area I've seen that people are unable to look at. So my advice would be focus on these things, and all the best to the entrepreneurs to get over across the chasm and be successful.
Great. Thank you for that advice and interesting analogy given there. But moving on, SaaS Chronicles Season 2 is, as you know, particularly focused on the PPT theme, which is people, processes, and technologies. So I wanted to get your perspective on how Biz2 Credit as a company thrived during the pandemic. And if you were to look at it from the lens of people, processes, and technology, what are your key learnings? If you could share each one with us.
It's a great question and great theme to have. I myself have been using that acronym PPT for a long while now, for people, process, technology, because it helps you focus on the right aspects of business. So specifically to the question of what did we do, or what were our focus during COVID. On the people practices, I think the biggest challenges that we faced was, really that there was remote working with no FaceTime. So suddenly, from being in office, having enough
Hmm.
FaceTime, impromptu conversations that would enable a lot of collaboration, and we shifted to a remote working culture where there's no FaceTime, and then emailing or chatting or having virtual conversations for just about everything, which was also a little unnatural to begin with.
Oh,
So we really focused on making the connect and focusing on very simple things to make the connect happen, because I think what the remote working did for us was take the connect away.
yeah.
um, and then I'll give you an example of how simple things we did. Was that in my stand up, I do a daily leadership stand up with people who report into me.
Mhm.
And once we all went remote, generally when we were in office, that leadership meeting was all about, problems and, elaborate things about things. But when we went remote, it was very disconnected, and those long 1 hour meetings were not being very productive. So what I did was we just converted it into a 15-minute max stand up, and very simple things we were checking every day, like, is there any problem for anybody to work from home? A simple question, either for us or people in our team. And what are the problem they are having, and how can we solve them immediately? How can we react to that?
Oh.
On the process part of it, since we were not together, we brought in more focus on the tooling and automation part of it.
Hmm.
So that helped us, in the fact that we could rely on the tools to do some things where the people were not available. Having open retrospections, what's working, what's not working, how can we improve this remote working, having the people participating themselves into finding solutions was also one thing that we started doing more, during the COVID pandemic. And then on the technology front, I think one of the biggest thing was that we're already invested in cloud, and since 2013 we've been a Amazon AWS customer for a long while. So we've kind of mastered the cloud and have a pretty highly remote and a remote friendly infrastructure. Almost
Hmm.
all of our people had laptops, and all of our infrastructure is on the cloud, etc. But COVID really taught us from the tech side of it that having the agility and the velocity was important.
Great. You spoke about the AWS partnership. So you have been able to scale up operations, technology, and people to such a great level in a very short time frame. And you just mentioned, how you did that. So, what role has AWS played in this journey, and what is your partnership with AWS look like today and also going forward?
Right. So I think AWS has helped us tremendously for scaling, at least on the tech part, and specifically the theme being people, process, and technology. So on the technology part, the AWS partnership really frees up from really having a lot of concern about scaling, at least from the tech part. And I have examples where because of a certain program last year, which where the US government had appointed us as one of the fintechs to facilitate some of their government support for small businesses.
Mhm.
We literally transformed ourselves within a matter of days and weeks, from a scale perspective of what we were doing in a month, 10,000 applications in a month,
Mhm.
to really transforming to doing 10,000 applications per hour. And that was because of the fact that the AWS technology helped us with the elasticity. We had the continuous support, and timely support that was needed to deal with issues which cropped up. It was not that it just magically happened. Of course, teething issues and everything are there, but the continuous and the timely support helped us scale out much better.
Definitely. But just before we wrap up, two last questions, and that is about the fear of a looming recession. Many companies have announced potential hiring freezes, limited funding, and lesser number of customer onboarding has also happened. So, in the current scenario, how are you planning to mitigate the risk? And keep growing.
Right. So for us, recession we always see as a great time to grow our business. We're doubling down on our investments right now. We always have been financially prudent, and that has led us to not chase hyper growth and funding for our growth capital, but to really build our war chest organically with our profits and with our business, so that we can take advantage of that. We are also looking at improving productivity by reducing waste. So it's not like work extra or pushing people, but let's progressively look at how can we reduce waste and be more progressively innovative.
All right. Just your closing comments quickly on, we've been hearing about the great resignation. We're also hearing about a lot of layoffs and the constant war for talent, especially in the leading tech companies. So, any advice to C-suite leaders who are, struggling to attract and retain the top talent?
Well, I mean, understanding the new age workers and the new generation is difficult. uh,
Mm.
their motivations have changed. My advice to everybody who's in the C-suite and perhaps not of this generation, really understanding the needs of the new age workers and having some empathy about understanding where they're coming from is going to be critical.
Thank you, Mr. Tyagi, for such an enlightening conversation. And as you said, flexible work culture with the hybrid model is definitely the way to go forward. And SaaS power is definitely going to enable SMEs to avail the type of credit that they need without hassle and keep growing at the pace that they want to. Thank you so much for being with us today, and thank you all for watching.
Thank you.
India's SaaS ecosystem has been growing at a phenomenal pace, driven by the people, processes, and technology framework, which is also known as the PPT framework. So, in today's discussion, we will shine the spotlight on the people aspect and understand the importance of smart talent onboarding and the kind of role that technology is playing in it. The topic for today is AI powered talent screening and how it's driving SaaS growth in the country. And to understand this space better, we're in conversation with Mr. Ajay Trihan, founder and CEO, Authbridge. Welcome to the show, Mr. Ajay.
Thank you very much, Ruchira. Thanks a lot. Pleasure to be here.
It's wonderful to have you here with us. And Authbridge, as we know, is one of India's leading background screening and risk assessment company. It has over 1,500 clients, and it's also been a pioneer in the background verification space. So could you take us a little through your journey and how the entire transition has been as you've grown into one of India's leading identity verification platforms?
Thank you so much, Ruchira, for your kind words. Yeah, it's been an interesting journey. We've been building Authbridge for the last 17 years. Started it out of a kind of 2-bedroom apartment to where it is today with 2,000 plus customers, about 1,500 plus employees, and delivering the largest number of authentications in a month, about 15 million a month across industry segments. We work with about 30 plus segments, industry verticals across the country. It's been a phenomenal journey, switching or building or transforming the company from 2005, where we built it. There were no databases, nothing available for us to do anything digitally, and we were a pure services organization, or for want of a better word, a knowledge processing company, to where we are today, where there's phenomenal amount of data out there. We built a whole lot of technology to be able to use that data. Customers take decisions faster. Now, whether they're taking decisions for onboarding an employee or a vendor or a distributor or a customer or granting a loan or giving an employment or appointing somebody as a vendor, we have something or the other where we can help them digitally solve a lot of challenges. A lot of it is around, of course, people technology, because that's an area we excel in. And so that's what kind of has been the journey, a whole huge transformation. And how we did the transformation is actually taught us a very interesting case study in Cornell as a part of their MBA program. So we're very privileged to be one of the very few organizations in the world to have a case study which is taught as part of their coveted MBA program. So that's where we are in terms of our 17 years journey.
Well, Authbridge offers comprehensive background screening solutions enabled by cutting-edge, new-age technologies. So could you tell us, as a domain expert for more than 17 years, how are you really helping businesses reduce cost and achieve efficiency as they go on with this onboarding process?
So our primary objective is to help our customers reduce costs of onboarding, and that comes through giving them tools and technologies which make this whole process operationally efficient for them. Obviously, AI, ML, and a lot of advanced engines become core and intrinsic to that provision. So our job is to give faster outputs to them, accurate responses, give it more efficiently. The workflow engines are very intuitive. On every step, the system knows the next step based on the data it's getting at the previous step. So there is a lot of intelligence that is built into these engines for us to help our customers onboard whoever they're onboarding in a very efficient manner. We use extensive machine learning and AI in places where we have very unorganized data. For example, the litigation data of the country, about 300-ish million records, where we have to dip into those records within a few seconds and find matches of litigation. So we've been doing that and hence supporting a lot of our client organizations grow faster and efficiently using technology.
Great. But I believe if you look at some numbers, the background verification industry is a $2 billion industry, and yet only about $100 million has been tapped at present. So, what do you think is your strategy for growth and innovation with this regard? And what is your success mantra since you've had this inspiring journey?
Yeah, so that's the most beautiful part of being an organization being built in India, that you're catering to a very large market. But strangely, not all of that market is serviceable very easily, at least not in the early stages of the journey, because of lack of technology. And today, the strategy at Oddbridge is to build technology which is very affordable and let more and more customers use it, so that the customers who've not been using these platforms and databases to make their whole onboarding journeys and authentication journeys quick and efficient start using them. And that's actually been our success mantra. So we've brought technology wherever our competition could not even fathom that there could be a technology solution. And we were the first ones in that space, and we had a lot of companies then following us into those areas. So we very close. We work very closely with our customers now. A lot of them are not really very large organizations; they're mid-sized organizations. They're very happy to articulate their problems very nicely to us. We create solutions for them, then take those solutions to masses. So our customers have been our biggest, I would say, ground customer locations where we built some of the marquee products. And that's what we want to continue doing. Work with our customers, solve for them, and in the process grow the market and be able to become a larger and larger shareholder in the $2 billion market that this country actually gives to us in trust and authentication.
So, with the fear of a looming recession, many companies have announced potential hiring freezes. They're dealing with limited funds. So, in this scenario, of course, there is a lesser number of onboarding. So, owing to the fear of a looming recession, do you think you have to revisit your plans, and how are you planning to mitigate the risk and keep growing in this scenario?
So, I think I'm a very firm believer, particularly operating in a market like India, and this is my kind of third venture. I'm very optimistic about India as a market under any situation, right? And I think the Indian customers today, because of maybe the last 2 years of COVID, are very hungry for digital solutions. So so despite the fact that there is a hiring freeze and a lot of organizations are looking at their hiring numbers even for the next few quarters, we have been able to successfully grow even through this space because of the innovation that we have done on the product side, because of for want of a better word, I'll say renovation of some of the solutions that we did. So, for example, an address verification solution which was there in the industry forever, we were able to quickly build a digital address verification journey for our customers, which today is being used by some of the largest banks. So we, as an organization, thinking and solving problems creatively has been a part of our core values. And that's what has stood the test of time for us. And that's the reason why, despite the services part of the background screening business or trust and authentication business being very crowded with a lot of competition, we have continued to stay ahead and built new products and solved bigger problems for our customers. And despite the hiring freezes and despite the challenges, we've still continued to grow. We've also been kind of fortunate enough to be able to have a great bunch of people who've been working closely despite all the pressures. we've been able to touch wood retain our employees, and those teams have also been extremely active in terms of building more products and solutions for our end customers.
But
Yeah.
let's look at your funding. We typically see companies raising funds within a year of their inception, while interestingly,
Right.
what waited 15 years before raising a funding round in December
Yeah.
2021. So, could you take us through the reasons behind this conservative approach, and what are the plans of expansion now with these new funds?
My view on fundraisers, you should raise money if you need money. Now, there are certain business models which need money upfront. Otherwise, you can't even take them off the road, take them off it just doesn't take off at all on the runway. And those business models actually guzzle a lot of money. But then there are business models where you don't really need to look at large capital investment upfront. You can run them profitably. So Oddbridge is actually in the second bucket. So I don't think we were conservative. We've grown very aggressively. We've been conservative on our raising capital because we've been very frugal all this while. We've been very careful with our capital deployment. We've been spending money only where the organization needs money and at the right places. And I would say by our good lucks and the fact that we've had a great bunch of people, we've deployed capital at the right place at the right time. And that gave us the runway that we needed till we raised formal capital.
Sure.
Institutional capital. So we had no reason to. And now that we are raising we've raised institutional capital in the last 12 months, this is after 16 years of our journey. We are using that capital for hyper growth. We've identified areas where there is a substantial innovation requirement, and we have a closed user group of customers who need those capabilities. So we are working with them, building solutions for them. And these solutions will probably make money for us in future. So we've got 3 or 4 such ideas we're working on, and that needed capital. So we've just raised the amount of capital we needed.
So just before we wrap up, one last question. Oddbridge has managed to succeed in scaling up operations to perform more than 15 billion quality and AI-driven checks every day. So could you tell us the role that AWS has played in this entire achieving this milestone, and also about this partnership that you have with them?
AWS has been an outstanding partner, and we actually signed up with Amazon Web Services about 2.5 years back, and it's been a great journey all this while. We've had the solutioning team working very closely with us, helping us architect the offerings nicely. AWS gave us scalability. As an organization, if you really understand our business well, it's very hard to predict which kind of organization will hire how many people, which bank will kind of lend to how many customers. We have a very strong dependency on the 1,500 customers on when they will grow. But when they grow, we don't have time to really scale our capabilities. That's where AWS comes in, very, very handy, and they've been really working well with us. Going further, of course, the cloud infrastructure, we will like to work closely with AWS even on their AI/ML capabilities, and we've been talking to the account managers and solutioning architects there at AWS to help take us through the capabilities on AI/ML, computer vision, and a lot of other technologies that they offer. So it's been a great partnership, and I'm sure in future we will probably co-build some products, take them to market along with AWS. So we're looking forward to the partnership, and it's been an amazing journey so far.
Well, clearly a contactless, paperless background verification platform powered by comprehensive dashboards and advanced monitoring is going to lead the way to the future and make the entire onboarding process transparent, efficient, and secure. So thank you so much, Mr. Ajay Trihan, for this very enlightening conversation and helping us understand the role of SaaS in reinventing people management. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Ruchira. Thanks for having me over. It was a pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you so much. The impact of the COVID-19 pandemic around the globe was unprecedented. In addition to the threats caused to public health and livelihoods, the pandemic also affected economies and businesses, causing major disruptions. Such challenges resulted in the pressing need for innovative solutions to ensure better work continuity. And HR management evolved dramatically during this transition, backed by advanced technologies like SaaS. So, to know more about the challenges faced by the HR sector and also understand the solutions that they adopted, I'm joined today by Mr. Girish Raoji, CEO, Great Tip Software. Welcome to the show, Mr. Girish.
Thank you, Richira. It's a pleasure to be on the show.
So, Mr. Girish, our aim is to focus on how evolving HR tech is paving the way for smarter work environments. And as we all know, HR technology has emerged as a top priority for leaders. They need automated solutions going forward. And Great Tip is the country's largest provider of cloud HR and payroll software solutions. You've touched the lives of more than 1.5 million employees on a daily basis. So could you tell us, as an early SaaS company, how has the journey been so far?
So we started SaaS when it was really not very popular, or it was not something that was so prevalent in the market. What happened is, we were an on-premise HR and payroll company, and we always had this intense desire to say, how do I get software across to hundreds of thousands of domestic businesses and Indian businesses, because they needed to have access to the right tools. And SaaS, when it came up, it really gave us a great platform and a mechanism, because SaaS has some very inherent advantages in terms of its ability to be bite-sized in payments. People can pay on demand, that is, they can consume and pay, or pay smaller chunks at the end of every month. They could try and buy. They could enter and exit at any point. So when we looked at all these things and the market need, where domestic small businesses wanted to operate in a certain way, that's when the SaaS really was a model and a mechanism that worked for us.
Great. So those are some great numbers over there. But what do you think about the future when it comes to SaaS in India? Because you bet on SaaS pretty early up.
The way we see it is, India as a market is huge. And there's so many businesses hungry for good tools that will help them to compete, that will help them to do better. And as you know, employees have become a key part of most organizations now. So it's very essential to provide good services to employees, make sure that their experience in the company is extremely well done. And in that context, HR tech as a platform and SaaS as a whole, I see an extremely bright future, because the domestic small businesses require good tools. They have a certain capacity to pay, and they are not in a position to really make a large chunk of investment upfront for various reasons, especially the small business sector. SaaS that way, as I said, really solves a lot of problems for them. And I see a tremendous uptake in the SaaS products and the SaaS ecosystem. And the SaaS is a model of delivery of business services.
Definitely. And it allows you to scale and buy as you wish and pay for what you want. So it's perfect for businesses. But moving on to our next question. So how has HR technology evolved during the pandemic, and what kind of role has technology played in this? And if you could also take us through how has this particularly impacted your business in the last couple of years, considering they're your primary market?
There have been multiple facets to this whole thing. If you look at the way we make a sale, right? Mm-hmm. Earlier, customers would insist that we sit in front of them. A large number of customers would love to buy from a person. Very few of them would buy online. But during pandemic, 100% of our sales was online. Mm-hmm. And if you are, and I also, as I said, the whole process of what HR tech can do, right? HR tech earlier would serve a small percentage of requirements. It could be around payrolling, it could be around some amount of compliances. But today, since every part of the organization has moved online, the demand for good HR tech that can help make this happen has tremendously increased. For us, we have seen excellent growth. The demand spurt is really high. We see sectors that traditionally were not keen on HR tech. It could be the brick and mortar economy sectors. It could be smaller companies in tier 2 cities. The party is also joined by companies in the tier 3 cities. We have seen good traction coming in. There's been a great spurt in demand that way, and organizations are now very keen, and they have accepted that you can buy good online tools at affordable price points provided by vendors who can support you well, and they're willing to trust the technology to get their business process moved and help them to run their businesses.
Well, it's clear that HR leaders need to optimize their HR capabilities to meet future needs. So, what are the common challenges faced by companies while incorporating technology in HR, and how can they overcome these?
A very relevant question, because what happens is there's always a need and a desire to want to put good technology in place. But out of our experience of on enabling almost 18,000 businesses on the platform, I can definitely share a few key points that technology adopters should be wary about. And in no particular order of priority, a couple of them would be: one is on expectation management. Another area where you really need to be cognizant is in terms of how much of a fit do you want the technology to be to your process. More important is the time to market for value. How quickly can you derive value out of the automation that you bring in? And all these metrics will go for it. So I think these are some key points that organizations need to keep in mind while bringing in a technology platform, especially an HR technology platform.
Great. Thank you for taking us through those solutions there. But let's look at small businesses. Small businesses represent close to 90% of businesses. They contribute to more than 50% of worldwide employment. And, in emerging economies, formal SMBs contribute up to 40% of the national income. So clearly, they're a very important engine of economic growth. So how is Great Tip catering to this ever-evolving segment of small businesses?
Yeah, this is a question that's very dear to our heart. Traditionally, Great Tip has, over the last, significant period of time, focused a lot on the SMB segment and domestic small businesses and domestic businesses. One of the key reasons is this segment was typically not well served. They have always got vendors who have been wanting to go all out to meet the needs of larger businesses. For various reasons, it's sustainable. They are willing to pay more and various other things. But small businesses have been a key part of the economy. But there's a certain amount of resources they can put aside for automation, and vendors had not been in a position to be able to meet this requirement. But we have done significant amount of work to ensure that we are able to cater to the requirements of this segment. We have brought in significant innovation in the way we operate. Even though it is a traditional HR and payroll software, the way we deliver it, for example, we enable onboarding. It's free. We do local language training. We have multiple things within the application that help businesses. That is, people who are not very HR, have a lot of experience doing HR and payroll systems. People like that are able to come in, use the software and derive value. And that's one area. Another area where we have done significant work is we have gone in with what we call as an ecosystem approach, because the problem for small businesses is not just about a tool. It is about running good HR and payroll functions. Now, to run a good HR and payroll function, tool is one part of it, right? You still need trained manpower. You need access to the experts who will help you to put things in place. You need access to resources. Now, if you look at Great HR and Great Tip, we have done significant work in that area. We have a community, we have a resources side, we have a compliances side. Our courses on Udemy have 20,000 registered learners who have learned about small business HR and payroll. So what I believe is small businesses in India, you need to figure out what is it that you can do to help them succeed. Software and automation may be part of the work that you do, but you really need to help them solve the full problem. And for Great, we have been doing this for almost 3 to 4 years now. And I would attribute the love of our customers to a lot of these things that we do for them, which is in addition to providing them good software.
Great. So customized solutions are very, very crucial for small businesses, of course. So what about large enterprises? While India is your primary focus, are there any plans to tap into international markets? And are you planning to also enter the large businesses space?
Large businesses, if you kind of do a little bit of deep dive into the market, there are multiple kinds of large businesses. If you look at employee size, you could have the large IT companies, you could have the large fintech companies that are big in number. But if you also look at the Bharat economy, you look at the traditional companies, there are significant number of large businesses. Okay, there are car dealerships in Lucknow, which have 3,000 people. There is a masala packaging plant in Chennai that has some 5,000 people. There are tea plantation companies that employ 5,000 people in a Palghat. Now, what's happening is there is this segment of companies, fairly big in number, where employee numbers are large, and they also need good automation tools. They may not use some parts of HR. It could be a performance management, or it could be a competency mapping, but they do have a lot of needs. It could be shift assignment, it could be overtime tracking, it could be compliances, it could be factory sack. So there are many such things that are there. Now, within Great Tip, we have identified this as a large segment, and we have been doing significant work there. We have about 1,000 plus companies, which are more than 800 to 1,000 employees who are using Great HR. So we have a fairly large enterprise practice within Great HR, and international also is a focus area for us. We now have our payroll capable for processing payroll of nearly 22 countries.
All right. So let's talk about things from a product perspective. What are the areas that you would like to focus on right now? And with employers working on policies and improvising on new ways of engaging with their employees post the pandemic, how is the entire HR tech sector evolving?
Yeah. So, because employees moved online, okay, HR tech was and had to be one of the pioneers in being able to make significant modifications in their products and processes to be able to cater to this need. Okay, it became very imperative that they did it. Now, from a product perspective, we are working in multiple areas. For example, we have done a lot of work on chatbots that will help employees to get access to information. We have done AI-based, facial recognition-based attendance systems. I did allude to the fact that the onboarding and offboarding process is completely paperless. It's completely online. Mobile apps, have played a very, very key role. Almost all employee services today are being consumed by employees on the mobile. So there is significant work in the HR tech area. At least the more progressive organizations have been able to move all employee processes onto mobile. And
Sure.
For Great Tip itself, we have 1 million plus downloads of the mobile app. Just goes to show how much of a shift has happened in the modes of consumption of these services. The other things are on engagement. Now that people are not coming to office, there have been changes in the way you communicate, you engage with employees. How do you make sure that they are involved and they are part of the same organization. Today it's all about a small zoom camera and the image that comes on the screen. Technology has evolved to kind of get information sharing better organized. There are many rewards and recognition integrations that have happened, and HR tech that way in multiple areas. There have been good innovation interviews, as you know.
Great. And what are your growth expectations in the coming years?
So what we believe is India as a market, okay, even with 18,000 customers, we have barely scratched the surface. There is a huge number of organizations that can benefit with good HR tech and with good automation tools. Our near-term goal is to reach about 100,000 businesses. We want to touch the life of 10 million employees. And, we are very gung-ho and confident, because we are seeing uptake in sectors, as I said, where you definitely would not think. Manpower outsourcing, it could be education, it could be tier 2 cities, it could be factories, it could be tea plantations, it could be garage of automobile people. Every one of them today want good HR tech. They want mobile enabled. Their employees want to see their payslip on demand. They want to apply for leave on the mobile. And we believe the first modest goal that we would like to do is to reach about 100,000 customers.
That's wonderful. So how do you plan to scale up that fast, and how critical is the AWS partnership in that entire plan?
Yeah. In India, one of the largest challenges that any platform, any tech or any player would need to solve for is on distribution. Sure. Since not everybody is online, the online is improving, but not every person comes online. So it's very essential to be able to understand how to solve the distribution challenge and be visible to people and be able to communicate to them that there is good technology solutions to business challenges that you regularly face. And so we have adopted a very multimodal kind of an approach. We have channel partners with whom we work. We have channel partners in 50 plus cities. Our online presence is very large. We also have significant tie-ups. For example, I'm on the ICICI Bank Connected Banking platform. We are on the HSBC banking platform. We are on Amazon Digital Suite. We were one of the first vendors to come on to the Amazon Suite. And so, as I said, multiple modes in which we would like to be present, and of course, our ecosystem approach. And honestly, if you look at my journey on specifically the AWS front, I was one of the first players, Great one of the first players to move to AWS. Our journey with AWS began in 2010 when they had just opened up the data center on the US East Coast. And from that point onwards, it's been a really fruitful partnership with Amazon, with AWS specifically. As they're not a vendor. Over the last few years, we have partnered in multiple areas. It could be in areas where they have been promoting us with Amazon, or it could be in terms of some bundled offering they're doing. They run specific partner programs. So in addition to, of course, the awesome technology and platform that they provide to the cloud that enables us to provide our services, we have had a really good and fruitful relationship with AWS. They have been an integral part of what we have been doing today.
Thank you so much, Mr. Girish, for this very interesting conversation. And as you mentioned, with a remote and hybrid work model leading the way, with virtual recruitment, virtual hiring becoming the new normal, these trends clearly point towards the advent of a new and a smarter workplace environment. So the coming years, HR technology, innovation, powered by SaaS will definitely continue to remain center stage. So thank you so much for watching, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Employees are the heart and soul of an enterprise and the true drivers of its success, which means that human capital management needs to constantly evolve to make workplaces more efficient, frictionless, and agile as we move forward. With companies embracing digital transformation at a breakneck speed and unprecedented events like the pandemic dramatically changing the way we work, traditional HR processes are clearly no longer adequate. In fact, advanced technologies and innovations can enable enterprises to seamlessly manage everything from their workforce to payroll to talent onboarding, performance, and employee experience. And that is the topic of this discussion: Future Ready HCM for automating HR processes and building better workplaces. And to understand this space better, I'm in conversation with Mr. Rohit Chinamaneni, co founder Darwinbox. Welcome to the show, Mr. Rohit.
Hi, Ruchira. Thank you for having me.
So, welcome to the show, Mr. Rohit. And so, I'd like to begin by asking you, cutting edge HR tech is, of course, paving the way for better work environments. And Darwinbox is a leading provider of a cloud based human resource management software powered by AI and machine learning. So, for the benefit of our audience, could you shed some light on the journey behind the creation of Darwinbox, your commitment to cloud, and also how its relevance has grown over the years?
I think thank you again, Ruchira, for having me. It's great to talk about this at a time when so many things are changing in the world. So 7 years back, when me and my co-founders, three of us came together, I think one of the things that was very, very critical for us was a fundamental system of record like the HRMS, which takes care of your employees and every single employee in your organization, right from the CEO to the last intern who's joined the organization, uses the system, was doing very little where it could have done a lot. And that's where the basic idea of Darwinbox came about. We said, how can we ensure the life of the end user, right, who's your employee, gets better? How do we enable this person to do more? How do we empower this person to get better data and experience the organization better? And that's what led to us starting off on this journey. As a product, we are an end-to-end HR technology product. So we automate the entire employee lifecycle, starting from the person pre-joining the organization, which is the recruitment and onboarding, to core time attendance, payroll, performance management, employee engagement, travel expense, and many other things that are a part of the employee lifecycle. In the last 7 years, I think today we work with more than 700 companies, more than 2 million end users across these 700 companies have experienced Darwinbox, and predominantly in three markets that we are present in and growing into other markets. India, Southeast Asia, and Middle East are the three markets that we are presently present in, and then we plan to expand beyond. One of the things that has been a big learning for us in the journey has been, of course, right, that HR specifically as a function is very interesting because it is very culturally ingrained. So each country, each organization, each sector might function differently. So it needs the agility from technology to allow it to do it the way that is best relevant for that organization. And second, with this whole dynamic of work from home, hybrid, work from office, work from anywhere coming in, very complex kind of scenarios that organizations are dealing with, the system needs to be agile enough to enable for different types of settings, different types of philosophies and processes, and that's what we've done really well. So at the core of Darwinbox, we basically take care of two main things. One, how do we make the life of the end user better, and two, how do we make organizations a lot more agile? That is the focus for us as an organization.
There's been a lot of change in the way employees work today, and more companies are still debating on the hybrid or the remote work model. So, how do you think innovative HR tech platforms like yours can help navigate this change? And how can you really enable companies to unlock organization wide agility, productivity, and flexibility moving forward?
Yeah. So let me just give you to start off with, give you an example that helps you understand this, right? So if you look at what happened in 2020, suddenly when COVID hit, most organizations were struggling with how do we manage this whole cross section of employees, where there are some employees who were all over the place in terms of their hometowns. They were they were trying to go back to their hometown. So safety was important. Security of their employees was important. There was a lot of communication that was needed as organizations talk to their employees, because there was also a lot of chaos. And at that point of time, we needed technology that enables all this happening seamlessly. And if you think about any of the traditional technology players, they would have been built with a very, this is best practice on how HR should be done mindset. While when we thought about HR, we said, how do we enable building the system for yourself, or enabling this implementation for yourself to be just like a Lego block, right? So how do organizations think about just bringing on different stuff so that it suits them? So think of, if I have to think of an absconding workflow, I have to think about a work from home workflow. How do we bring in process? How do we bring in engagement? How do we bring in communication? Bring all of that together so that you tailor it perfectly for any given organization. That's how we thought about the system. That's the configurability of the system that allows for organizations to be more agile in these times, and that helps organizations.
Well, thank you for sharing those insights, Mr. Rohit. But moving on, there have also been concerns around the overuse of technology, and there is a lot of debate on how it has really affected the overall health and wellness of employees. So, how do you think Darwinbox can help maintain this balance between work and wellness, especially in this digital era?
So I think what used to happen without technology in the past was there was a lot of either transactional work or lack of information or information asymmetry, right? So when you do repetitive work, there is chances of burnout because just you're doing the same thing again and again, or when there is lack of transparency, right? So if you need to know certain information about what my benefits are, what my salary details are, how do I manage my tax better, how do I do my performance better, how does my role line up into the organization's goals, all of those things became very, very difficult for employees without the use of good technology. So it had to be a lot more manual, person to person, etc. And once technology came in, all of this actually eased up, right? So if you think about what are the big areas that technology is helping, right? So one, it is helping reduce the amount of transactional activities that happen in an organization. Two, it is enabling that individual who's on the move, right? Today, if the person has to give his receipts for getting his expense management, or write the performance review, or give an interview feedback, they can actually do it immediately on their phone rather than going back into a system, opening up their laptops or desktops and filling it up, etc., in a very, very cluttered interface, which is very difficult to use, etc. So it's actually making simple things that they need to do easy so that they can focus on the most important piece, which is their role and their work. Third, for the HR teams, it's actually enabling them to have more meaningful conversations with their teams and do real business partnering rather than spend a lot of time on data, on transactional activities, on repetitive tasks like that. So for every stakeholder, if you think about it, we are looking at activities which in the past were very repetitive, transactional, difficult to do, and making it easier so that it allows them to do more meaningful work, more time for them to focus on meaningful conversations as well between them, their managers, their HRBPs, etc.
Well, clearly, cloud and AI are at the very core of your brand. But which other technologies you believe are still relatively untapped for the company?
I think one of the big areas we are focusing on as a platform is the whole experience layer. And in terms of experience layer, I'm talking about how individuals interact with systems is changing, and this is happening everywhere in the world. But if you think about how you traditionally did an expense management, how you traditionally did a performance review, how do you traditionally did a survey, were very different from how people are interacting with systems. Second, I think, as I said, as we expand and as we go global, different countries need different aspects that is available on the platform so that they can just bring that in to solve for the specific needs of their organization or of their employees. That's the second area where we are investing, where we are bringing in higher level of configurability into the system. We continue to invest there as well. Third, on the data and analytics piece again, right, which you asked, the AI MLPs, how do we give a lot more information to the managers, to the heads of the departments, etc., so that they can intervene with a lot more data rather than with judgment or any bias. So I think those are the three big areas where we are investing in terms of technology.
So let's talk about your growth plans for the future. Where would you want to aggressively drive your next phase of investments? And if you could share with us your 5-year future growth outlook.
Yeah, I think as the world and the HR world is changing so quickly, 5 years broadly seems like a stretch, but let me take a shot. I think for us, I think two things are very, very important. So one, we wanted to build a great global product story out of Asia for the world. So I think that continues to be our stated mission, vision for the company. On we want to really build a world-class system out of Asia, which is used by all countries in the world. So as we do that, there are two areas of growth or two vectors of growth, if you may. One is on the geographical front. We have a significant market share in Asia. We want to continue to push on that and become number one in Asia at this point of time, and which is like a next 2 year plan. And then as we do that, we want to launch in other markets like the US, Japan, Australia, LATAM, etc. Those are the other markets that we want to expand into geographically and build significant presence in. And on the other side, the product side, as I said, significant investments are going into building for the experience layer, building for the data and data science layer, etc., which adds additional products that will help our customers who are the HR leaders or the IT leaders of organizations actually deliver better for their internal customer, which are the end users.
Well, Darwinbox has been recognized on Gartner's 2022 Magic Quadrant, so congratulations on that. And what are the key reasons behind this? What makes Darwinbox stand out and stay ahead of competition?
Absolutely, and it was a moment of pride for us, because if you look at all the other players, and there are 10 players on the Magic Quadrant today, the other 9 players are either at least a decade older than us. So it feels young and powerful to be in there as a part of that August company. And I think the biggest reason which Gartner recognized and validated for us is continues to be what actually made us build this organization, right? So the two focus area of building for the experience of the end user. So how do we make life easier for the end user? So the second big reason why we exist there on the Magic Quadrant is also because we've been able to do really well on ensuring that we have a very configurable platform approach to the product, which helps solve for a lot more use cases than any of our competitor for our customers, and helps them solve for their unique needs in a very effective way, is the other reason. So these are the two reasons why we are there.
Well, how is it really possible for enterprises to unify the entire employee lifecycle on a single platform with a Darwinbox? And how is it easy to implement, secure, and agile as a platform?
Absolutely. So as a product, as I said, I think the part where when I said it's configurable actually allows for you to bring in the best parts of the platform into each aspect of the HR lifecycle. So if you think about the entire spectrum, as I said, we take care of the entire life cycle of an employee from hire to retire, if you may, right? Starting from raising a requisition for a candidate to the candidate's experience on recruitment, onboarding, and once they join the organization, all other aspects. How this helps organizations is twofold, right? One, for the employee, when they're using a unified platform, they don't need to go to different places for getting different answers, right? There is one-stop shop for them to get anything related to HR answers in one place, right? So as an employee or end user, that is an experience that makes it easier for the system to be used. The adoption is better. Once adoption is better, there's better data, right? And once better data is there, of course, the better outcomes that come out of that data in terms of analytics, etc. The second piece is the analytics piece, the piece that I was alluding to, where once you have information about a given employee from all these aspects, just imagine the power of having an understanding of an employee right from the first application, their application to the organization, to all of their history and all aspects of the history, whether it is financial, whether it is performance, whether it is productivity, whether it is the individual's needs, etc. So there is a full view of a given employee at one place. This could be aggregated at an individual level, a team level, a department level, at an organization or a group company level. So having that visibility to take better decisions for that individual and for that team as well makes it very powerful for organizations to bring all of this together, right? So that's one piece of your question. The second piece of your question is, because of the configurability that exists in the product, right? It just allows for we being a better fit for organizations. A lot of times the implementations get delayed because the organizations have to change their processes and rethink their processes to fit into the product, where we say most of the times our products configurability allows for what your needs are being actually managed on the platform. So that's the difference that we bring in as a product, and that brings in the agility of implementations as well.
So, just before we wrap up, could you take us through some of the top products, solutions, and innovations at Darwinbox, and how they're really enabling different customers to meet their human capital management goals?
Absolutely. So if I have to take a few examples, right? So in terms of talent management, which is a very, very critical area for any company, because they want to groom their talent, make sure that they're managed better so that they can deliver better for the organization and grow within the organization. So we take a whole spectrum of things. If you think about performance management, there are organizations which do like a 6-month performance review or a yearly performance review, and that's it. But if you think about Darwinbox, we enable so much more on that elements, right? So we have an area called continuous feedback, where any individual can give feedback to anybody else at any point of time. They just have to log into the system and say, hey, I worked with XYZ and this is the feedback, and this they've done this really well, etc. So it actually gives a lot more information real time for you to collect in terms of performance review. Then there are the whole competency or skill based matrices, where you can actually have a 360 view of that individual, where you can send this survey out to different parts of the organization, whether they are peers, managers, team members, etc., and get feedback on that as well, right? On the third side, there is things like cascading of goals based on whether you do management by objectives or OKR based reviews. You have cascading of goals, etc. So when you bring all of this together, what it does is basically allows for organizations to get a more holistic view in terms of an individual on the talent and performance side and the potential side, and also allows for the individual to get better visibility onto what their goals are, better visibility onto how their role actually is contributing to the overall objectives of the organization, etc. So that's one piece of the platform which helps in different ways. If you think about the technology side of things, in terms of technology innovations, a lot of things we built it in a conversational way. So we have a voice bot where you can say, hey, I'm not feeling well today, which will actually translate to on the platform to, it'll open up the leave message for you saying, do you want to apply for a sick leave? And then you can directly apply from there. So it just enables you to do things seamlessly rather than looking at multiple screens and do certain set of things. And all other areas, like for example, right, we have facial recognition based attendance, so you can actually do away with the biometric systems that you have in the organization, because we at a combination of the face plus location plus IP address, etc., we can say this person is present in the office, you can be granted access, etc., all of those things, right? So multiple smaller innovations to make sure that we are able to make the life again of the end user better and solve for the agility of organizations.
Great. Thank you so much, Mr. Rohit, for an extremely enlightening conversation. And clearly, as you mentioned, advanced HR tech powered by SaaS, AI, and predictive analytics can truly revolutionize workplaces as we move forward. And clearly, innovative technology can take care of all aspects of human resource management, right from employee recruitment to onboarding to engagement, recognition, and even compensation, and can reduce cost for enterprises, save time and effort for everyone involved. So thank you so much for joining us, and thank you all for watching. Living in these extremely volatile times, Business leaders are constantly reworking on the processes to increase efficiency and productivity. And central to this process alignment has been the focus on business process automation. That not only helps businesses to move beyond automating tasks, but it also streamlines end to end processes and reduces uncertainty and delays to a great extent. In fact, contract lifecycle management or CLM automates and streamlines contract processes during key stages of doing business. So, needless to say, due to the various benefits, more and more companies are turning towards a modern contract lifecycle management solution for centralized visibility and management. So, to understand more about this vibrant space, I am joined by a very special guest, Mr. Ajay Agarwal, founder and CEO, Sirion Labs. Great to have you here with us, Mr. Ajay.
Thank you, Ruchira. Very, very nice to be here and happy to be included in the list of SaaS companies and SaaS founders, which are marking India's entry into the space. Thank you.
It's a pleasure to have you here with us. But before I dive into our questions that we've lined up for you, let's look at a recent report. As per that, the need for effective collaboration between the workforce of different business functions is driving the growth of the BPM market. So, as the founder of Sirion Labs, we would like to understand from you what really propelled you to launch this extremely unique platform that brings all the aspects of contracting together.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think for me, the roots of Sirion go back to my first company, United Legs, which we had started in 2006. And as part of what we were doing for our Fortune 500 client base is helping them navigate the complexities of contracting. And during that time, we understood that technology had a very big role to play. At United Legs, because it was a services company, we built a few productivity apps, but nothing really at scale. And it gave us the ability to imagine what technology at scale might look like. It also gave us a unique window into understanding what the problems of global contracting looked like. And I think that was the seed. So a couple of years after leaving United Legs, when I was at Stanford and I met my co-founder, Claude, who was at that time global head of outsourcing for General Motors, we started imagining what the world ahead might look like. We got together my other two co-founders, Kanti and Aditya, and that's really how the Sirion journey began. Starting to focus on things like creating contracts and managing the value from those contracts, but underpinned by this notion of artificial intelligence.
Wonderful. Thank you for taking us through that. But given the costly and extremely complex nature of the contracting life cycle, how does Sirion Labs help companies simplify their business processes and reduce the associated overall costs?
So that's an excellent question, Roger. I mean, I think the costs and the labor-intensive nature of contracting can be split into two parts. The first is all the manual effort that's needed to create, negotiate, and ultimately to sign and store a contract. Let's call that the front end of the contract life cycle. And here the problem is not just the manual nature of the contracting process today using Microsoft Word, Outlook, etc., but the obvious risks associated by allowing individuals to negotiate each contract as they see fit. And here the role of technology is to streamline the whole template, the workflow, the interoperability with buying and selling technologies like CRM and P2P. The second part of the streamlining and efficiency comes in after the contract has been signed. And here the focus shifts to bringing that contract to life, all the obligations, service levels, and invoicing parameters that are inside the contract. How do we connect them to the post-signature business value systems and ensure that the parties to that contract are receiving the value that they have received without them having to do it manually?
Great. So you've also been recognized as the leader in the 2022 Gartner Magic Quadrant for Contract Lifecycle Management. So many congratulations on that achievement.
Thank you, Ruchira. I think this is a very meaningful achievement. There are many SaaS companies in India. A few of them are enterprise SaaS business applications, and even fewer of them have gone on to build a brand that can compete at the global stage with known giants like SAP, Oracle, and Salesforce. So we are very proud to be in this sub segment of the SaaS universe that does this, and to get the recognition from Gartner really just validates the journey that we have been on. And I think the Gartner recognition really stems from three aspects. The first, and this I think for me is the one that makes me proudest, is when they spoke to hundreds of companies worldwide about their CLM journey, the one company whose customers seemed happiest with them was Sirion. So the happiness of our customers is a single big factor, I think, for Gartner to give us this recognition. The second two are more technical in nature. When they were looking at our technology and frankly of the future of the CLM category as a whole, Gartner came to the conclusion that artificial intelligence has to play a bigger and bigger role going forward. And in Sirion's technology, they saw a technology that can seamlessly shine a light on the past by extracting information from legacy contracts and seamlessly use that same intelligence to predict performance and do predictive invoicing as well. So those two elements, I think, are at the heart of Gartner's technical evaluation. And then when you combine that with happy customers, I think it's a very strong validation for Sirion.
So, what, according to you, gives Sirion that competitive advantage and sets it apart from the rest? And what is your vision for Sirion?
I think these two factors, Ruchira, the artificial intelligence at the organic level to enable the extraction of meaningful information from legacy contracts, to guide the hand of people who are negotiating contracts by highlighting the risks inside the counterparty drafts, the use of artificial intelligence to compute the performance of both the counterparties, and ultimately to tie those threads together and automatically validate invoice line items. This is what gives us our competitive edge, is the fact that we are not bringing in artificial intelligence as an afterthought, but really this was the foundational technology that Sirion built, and every business process that we handle after that is deeply informed by that. And I think from a vision perspective, looking at the product roadmap and the years ahead, our vision is to continue extending that. And we see a future, Ruchira, where the role of human beings in the contracting process will start to diminish over time, and bots will start taking over and moving this world, at least the low and the mid complexity aspects of it, into a completely autonomous zone.
All right. So clearly, automation is the future, but this is a rapidly evolving space. So, talking about the recently closed Series D investment of $85 million in 2022, could you take us through the expansion plans and the key areas of focus, in terms of growth for Sirion in the coming years?
Yes, Ruchira. And I think the first thing I'd like to point out is the timing of the investment is very significant, right? It happened in the middle of 2022, after there had been a huge correction in the technology sector in public market valuations. And so therefore, it is important to recognize that the timing of this investment signals a flight to quality. And for me, much like the Gartner recognition, it's a signal from the investor community that good companies never go out of style. And we're very happy to be recognized as one of those companies that will continue to attract capital, notwithstanding the macro headwinds that we're seeing. If you turn to the uses of capital, I think it's very interesting to understand 3 or 4 trends that are applicable to SaaS companies throughout India. We're starting to max out in India at this time in certain critical sets. When it comes to data sciences, when it comes to product management, when it comes to higher level skill sets on customer support and customer advocacy, the SaaS founders in India are beginning to see that there are limits to the available talent in India. So one of the uses of capital will be definitely to create global hubs where those skill sets exist. For example, we recently opened up a data science and artificial intelligence center in Nice in France. Many people think of it as a summer resort, but it's also the AI hub for France. And I think similar such initiatives, whether in Toronto or in other parts of the world, um, both to develop technology and to support our global client base. This is a very big use of capital. This is also a blueprint for how enterprise SaaS players in India will need to evolve to play on the global stage. And I think the second big use of proceeds is definitely to grow both our customer support and our R&D footprint to play at the level that we are currently playing with large global enterprises.
Great, but with the fear of a looming recession, as some people say, do you see any major pain points in executing all these plans?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I think certainly at the front end, Ruchira, you do see sales cycles getting elongated. You do see a higher level of scrutiny on the accompanying infosec and risk processes when you're contracting with large clients. But what we are not seeing is a softening of the demand per se. In fact, if anything, I would say the CLM category is recession geared. For example, over the last 2 years, as people started working from home, their ability to access physical contracts or to extract information from them, let's say as global supply chains were being disrupted and you needed to know what your force majeure clause in a contract looked like, and you didn't have a electronic repository up in the cloud, your ability to find that information went down substantially. So if anything, I think we're seeing a strengthening of the demand, but we're also having to navigate slightly longer sales cycles.
All right. So moving on to my next question, whenever we talk about automation, we also need to talk about security. So given the nature of your service offerings, you have access to a lot of confidential data. So how do you address the security concerns of your consumers, specifically in the BFSI space, where data protection and security are of paramount importance?
This is an excellent question. And I think this applies to any SaaS founder in India who aspires to play in the enterprise space. You're absolutely right. The security requirements for global enterprises are very stringent, and they get even more stringent as you enter the BFSI space. And I think the security posture of SaaS developers has to be informed at 2 different levels. One is picking your partners wisely. So one of the reasons we went with AWS as a partner is that we knew that unlike other hyperscalers who were in the market, they had the most robust security protocols in place and the widest possible geographic distribution of their EC2 layer, which enabled us to ensure that the hosting and the data residency security requirements were met. The second is the level of security that comes at the application itself. And this is specific to Cerion. And here, of course, there are known global standards that we all have to abide by, such as SOC 2, etc. And I think every SaaS company has to make that investment, not only to get certified, but to then maintain the security posture over time.
All right. So you spoke about the AWS partnership. So how do you plan to leverage this partnership going forward, and specifically to address, data-related use cases?
Absolutely. I think the 2 things that I find most attractive about our partnership with AWS is that as Amazon moves away from just a retail model to a more enterprise business model, principally through its AWS hyperscaler offering, they are starting to develop relationships in precisely the segment that Cerion is selling into. And our current customer base is largely focused in the enterprise segment. But as we go further down market into the SMB and into the smaller and mid-market customers, the partnership with Amazon will help us to create a community and to do effective joint pursuit. So this for me is very, very important part of the partnership, is going to market together. And the second thing I think is very fascinating about this partnership is how Amazon continues to invest in its platform and build in a lot of pre-compute capabilities that can help with the data and the intelligence side of the platform. So companies that are deployed on Amazon have to invest less and less on certain pre-compute capabilities because they're already available as part of the AWS offering. Those are 2 very good elements of this partnership for me.
So that was an extremely insightful conversation. Thank you, Mr. Ajay Agrawal, founder and CEO of Sirion Labs, for sharing insights and also taking us through your phenomenal journey.
Thank you very much for inviting us and giving us this opportunity to share insights from our humble journey.
Great. And just to sum up for our audience, business process automation is crucial in streamlining and automating processes while simultaneously lowering risks, increasing productivity, and driving compliance. So let's touch base on a related and unique perspective in the next track that is going to focus on processes. Thanks for watching. As we all know, automation is extremely crucial for businesses as they navigate across hybrid and multi-cloud environments and also leverage diverse technologies. Network automation and identity management are especially important for a productive, efficient, and secure future. So, to understand more about this space, we're in conversation with Mr. Anand Purushottaman, founder of AppUX. Welcome to the show, Mr. Anand. It's great to have you here with us.
Thank you, and thanks for having us over.
So the topic for our discussion is network automation and identity management for a secure and agile future. And AppUX as a platform is a leader in the key lifecycle and certificate automation, DevOps, and IoT security solutions. So could you elaborate on the genesis of AppUX and also take us through the solutions that it offers?
Sure, thank you. So I think this started about 10 years back. And as you guys know, 10 years back, the number of applications started skyrocketing, right? So the number of enterprises applications that they use as well as develop has significantly increased, right? This started around 10 years back. But what happened was at the same time, the underlying infrastructure that hosts these applications, whether it's the servers, whether it's firewalls, load balancers, the underlying technology was getting very complex to manage, right? They don't able to keep up with the speed of applications that are being launched and the amount of changes that's happening there, right? So we saw that as an opportunity to simplify the whole application infrastructure, right? And in that sense, make lives easier for the network teams, security teams, and the DevOps teams, right? So because their endeavor is to make sure that applications are more secure, they're more agile, they can launch applications much faster, and also more reliable, right? So to support that, I think this was an important crux that was missing in the market at that point, right? So what we did is we started off by integrating with the best of breed load balancers, firewalls, application services, and pretty much all the major cloud platforms as well, right? Sure. That's what we started off. Once we did that, we were able to offer good visibility and analytics into the application layer, the underlying infrastructure, right? And also offer really good service orchestration, as we call it, and automation and self-servicing capabilities. That really helped the DevOps teams, the network ops teams, security ops teams to really help their application teams to move faster, make the applications a lot more secure, and whatnot. That's how we started off. But a few years later, about 3, 4 years, 5 years back, I think I would say around that time frame, we saw that there's a need also to offer identity governance solutions, right? What I mean by that is, managing certificates and keys that is used by these applications and devices, network devices, security devices are very hard to manage, right? It's very important to manage that. I'll talk about it a little bit later, why it is important to manage that, automate the whole thing, right? And for us, that is also part of the larger vision that we are going after, which is to make infrastructure simple, the application infrastructure very simple and more reliable and secure. Hence, we pivoted in that direction, and that's a very big use case for us right now.
All right. So to make application infrastructure more simplified was the main, vision behind it. And broadly speaking, just to sum it up, AppUX is a leader in the key lifecycle and certificate automation, DevOps, and IoT security solutions, and also in machine identity management. And it automates and orchestrates network infrastructure as well as public key infrastructure. So what is interesting is that it has experienced some phenomenal growth in the recent years. So what are the major factors that you would attribute this growth to, and how do you plan to keep the momentum going?
Well, the focus was on the foundations. For us from the beginning, it is about well-designed and engineered products with the relentless focus on customer value. That's been our motto from the beginning. That really helped us. We know the competition keep growing at the rapid clip over the last 7 years. It's been a good growth journey for us. But the foundation of all of this is our cultural focus as an organization. We have a very holistic, work culture and an excellence in whatever we do, and we take pride in what we do, right? And also there is a culture of taking risks and failing fast and being agile. That's sort of like a startup culture. We're no longer a startup anymore, but we still have the same DNA, the culture in the organization. We take a lot of pride in that. We've been named as a great place to work. We take a lot of pride in that. And it's a very, and how do we keep the momentum going? We have a very large vision which we're working on. It's still not completed. It's a multi-year, maybe decades sort of a journey. It's a huge vision we're working on, and people are excited about this journey. Our employees, our partners, our customers are very excited about what we are building. With that, that's our passion and partnership. This is going to be a momentum for many more years to come.
All right. Thank you for sharing that, Mr. Anand. But moving on to our next question, identity governance is a very important area, where enterprises are investing a lot of time, effort, and resources. And a large chunk of the Fortune 500 companies are using AppUX platform for it. So how is AppUX helping these organizations to further bolster the security posture and also ensure that they can stay ahead of the technology curve?
Sure. I think identity and governance in the connected world we live in goes way beyond human identity. When I say identity access, we immediately think about identity and access rights for users, but that's a lot less compared to the identity access for applications and machines and devices. They also have identity and access by way of certificates and keys and whatnot, right? That is becoming very, very important for multiple reasons. One, applications are getting a lot more sophisticated, autonomous. So it's getting really AI driven. So there's a lot of collaboration, interaction between different application layers, different applications. So how do you ensure that there is governance and security in that autonomous world? You can't do it manually anymore. Number one is that. And number two, along with the application proliferation, there's a lot of design patterns that is called microservices and whatnot. So it's getting in a very sophisticated manner that for you to manage identity and access in a manual fashion, it does not work at all anymore, right? It has to be fully automated and governed. And for us, the last 10 years of investments in integrating with these, with this application services, network security devices, endpoints, IoT devices, helps bring a context of security and application across these layers, right? Now, with that context, you're able to offer very secure access at a granular level and identity management for that layer, right? So that's an area which is companies are investing on. It's very important to do it. The next level of digital transformation, as we all know, it's happening right now, and it's going to be autonomous and a lot of sophistication there, a lot of cloud native design patterns. In that space, getting the identity access governance in place for the machines and applications is critical and key, and it's very hot space to be in. Every enterprise in the world is investing in that space right now, and we are well positioned to do it. Not only do it, offer proper governance, but also do it in automated fashion, right? So there is no human intervention here. It's all fully automated, fully orchestrated, hence it's a lot more secure and resilient.
All right. So AI and ML will definitely lead the way when it comes to staying ahead of the curve. But having raised Series B funding for $20 million in July 2022, which of course is a commendable achievement, and congratulations on that. Could you tell us what are the new areas that AppUX is investing in, and what is the role of the AWS partnership in this?
Yeah, I think the investments. We are investing in not only bringing about new use cases in this larger play around identity governance and application infrastructure automation. We also are making our existing products a lot more smarter with AI ML, and we're also making it more resilient and scalable with cloud native design patterns and strong SRE practices. So that's been where the investment is going in, and Amazon has been a big partner of us, AWS. With us transitioning from an on-prem solution to a SaaS and marketplace, they've been a great partner for us in that journey. And now with the scale that we're seeing in terms of the amount of investments and market demand for security automation and IoT use cases, I think this partnership is a very strategic one for us and mutually beneficial a lot. I can say that.
All right. So what are the new markets that you are focusing on, and could you take us through your growth plans?
Yeah, I think right now, like I said earlier on, this vision of ours is quite large, right? We offering the product both on-prem, SaaS, and marketplaces, right? But you look at the entire application infrastructure; it's a very humongous space. While we support the best of breed technologies out there, there's still a lot of room for us to expand into, and the whole governance identity of a machine identity is it's a still emerging space. So and the multi-cloud coming in, it gets a lot more interesting. So we are entering into that from a technology stack point of view. But from a geographical presence, now we are available in all continents, and we're expanding into local markets. That's a lot of work for us in terms of setting up the necessary support for our customers in their local markets. So that's where we're expanding from a market point of view.
All right, great. You spoke about digital transformation earlier on in the interview. So the pace of digital transformation was, of course, fueled by the pandemic. So do you think that this trend will continue going forward? And will the investments in SaaS solutions keep growing?
Absolutely. Enterprises are continuing to innovate. They're looking at great SaaS products to come and help them in their journey, the digital transformation journey. There's no slowing down in making infrastructure secure. That's an area needs a lot more investment, a lot more focus. It's getting a lot more harder to make it. The word is zero trust. So there's a lot of investments going. It's going to go for many more years to come. And at the same time, I think enterprises want to become a lot more smarter, leaner, bringing a lot more autonomous automation into their technology stack, make it more efficient. And they're also adopting cloud-native technologies and SRE culture into the different organizations. So while SaaS valuations has gone down a little bit over the last year or so, the investments are continuing to happen, and digital transformation is going to keep going at this same acceleration for many more years to come.
Great. That's really good to know. But the post-pandemic landscape, is volatile. It is complex. So with the current economic outlook, do you think enterprises will be able to cope up? Small and big enterprises both?
Absolutely. I think the areas that we focus on, where we are seeing investments coming in, one is around the security space, security automation space. Second is identity governance, and third is, in a way, is also combined with these two, is automation, orchestration of different services in the infra stack. Those areas are only getting a lot more investments. We're getting a lot of growth as we speak right now. So these areas, people are not slowing down investing in, which is, like I said, security investments, and as well as in making more automation, autonomous infrastructure is going to be a lot more investments for what we see.
So thank you, Mr. Anand, for this very insightful and interesting conversation. And just to sum up for our audience, AppViewX translates business needs into automation workflows easily and quickly. It enhances agility, removes errors, and creates everything that future-ready enterprises need going forward. So thank you all for watching, and thank you, Mr. Anand, for joining us. Manufacturers are under constant pressure to deliver complex solutions under ever-tightening schedules. They can manage such pressures efficiently by harnessing the power of business process automation. BPA is increasingly being used as a digital transformation strategy to operate more efficiently and also streamline workflows. This involves the use of a software to automate business transactions that have multiple steps and are repeated often. In fact, hyper-automation helps businesses to detect and automate as many processes as possible, and is fast emerging as a very popular survival strategy. By the year 2024, Gartner expects organizations to have reduced their operational costs by 30% through hyper-automation. And that is what we are shining the spotlight in this conversation, unlocking business process automation. So we are going to be speaking to a leading expert from the space, Mr. Jatin Paul, CEO, WFX. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Jatin. It's great to have you here with us.
Thanks for having me.
So through the conversation, we aim to bring forth actionable insights on how companies can balance complex challenges in these volatile times with the power of BPA. So before we deep dive into our questions, if you could take our viewers through what is WFX all about. We know that it has digitally transformed fashion industry But how are you really using technology to address everything from sampling to shipment? And how are you enabling collaboration and scalability all at the same time?
Sure. So the background is, so we are a technology solutions provider exclusively focused on the fashion industry. So WFX does a couple of different things within this actual segment. So we've got on one side solutions for brands, and on the other side solutions for manufacturing, all related to this one specific industry. The challenge has been most of the software and technology available in the past has been mostly horizontal, and that's been sort of industry wide. So people have tried to use standardized systems that are used across industries and try to make them work for their fashion business. And that sort of resulted in a lot of challenges and failures in technology automation and business process automation. So that's sort of where we come in. We are an industry specialist. So everything we've done is ground up specifically for this industry with the domain expertise of this industry. So we're now over 250 people. We have products that encompass brands, which basically brands' jobs are to create, ideate, and bring new products to market. So the entire process of designing a new collection, costing a new collection, sampling a new collection, connecting and collaborating with their global supply chain, and bringing those products to market at the right time, at the right price, at the right quality. That's the kind of software we provide the brands. Typically, that comes under a bucket of technology known as PLM systems. On the other side, we've got solutions for manufacturing. So these are typically the factories and manufacturing organizations that actually have to produce the physical goods that get shipped and sold online through retail and other channels. So these guys basically require solutions to manage the entire supply chain from the time they have an order, from the time they procure materials, inventory optimization and management, to production optimization and management, logistics, shipping, and accounting, and also solutions that help them connect with their customers online. So we've got a couple different solutions and different products that service both sides of this fashion value chain.
Sure. So, as we know, World Fashion Exchange is the world leader in providing digital solutions for the fashion industry. But when you began, what were the kind of challenges that you faced while developing this innovative digital platform? And how did you overcome those challenges?
Sure. So I think, ground up, we are a cloud-based player. So we've had a strategy to have a SaaS solution, and that's been the genesis and the core of entire technology and architecture. And, we've been doing this for over 20 years. So SaaS today is a pretty a common phrase. Almost everyone and every business has some form of SaaS product that it uses. But 20 years ago, a SaaS was definitely very, very new. And the challenges we faced was that we decided to go with a very modern concept of deploying software and deploying technology in an industry that was still a pretty much a laggard of technology adoption. Fashion is one of the oldest industries in the world, right? Making of clothing and selling of clothing. And so traditionally, this has been a laggard in technology adoption. So we had a very innovative new product to market, but we are very early in the cycle where SaaS was just getting its foothold globally, actually. So I think those were some of the challenges in getting people to understand the benefits of automation and using this new technology. Of course, fast forward, all that's changed today, right? Like everyone needs to have a SaaS solution to manage their business and manage their business automation because everyone wants to be efficient. Today, prices are under pressure, margins are under pressure, supply chains are complex, distributed and fragmented. We've seen the challenges that everyone faced when supply chain shock took place during COVID. So, having a good solution that helps you be flexible, gives you visibility across your supply chain, that helps you be efficient, that allows you to work with a distributed workforce, that allows you to manage multiple units, factories, brands, locations, multiple product categories. That really is the entire need of the hour. So I think over the years, as we've spent more time and more effort to improve the quality of the solutions that we have, as we've kept pushing forward on the kind of technology that we offer, the industry is also caught up to where today we're in a situation where every fashion company, manufacturing, sourcing, brands are looking at different ways to digitize their operations, and they're looking at leaders in the industry.
Absolutely. Thank you for taking us through that entire transitional journey. And definitely, as you said, there are enough SaaS stories around us now. But when you began, of course, it was a totally different game altogether. But coming back to the broader aspect, and that is the fashion industry, fashion brands have always relied on footfalls and a solid market presence. But with the pandemic, of course, brands were impacted, businesses were deeply impacted, and every company wanted to swiftly, securely digitize their business, as you mentioned. So, do you think that the fashion industry has adopted to technology very well in the recent years?
I think there has been an ever increasing demand for technology adoption. I think that's been global, and I think everyone knows that. There's no secret. Fashion as well, right? It's not just COVID. I think this whole story of, what I spoke about, supply chain shock, product shock, everything, work shock, everything was halted. And that probably just accelerated things. But the demand and desire for this industry to adopt technology has been ever growing. Like I said, this has become a more and more complex business to actually succeed in. You got the advent of, like you mentioned, people relied on footfalls in retail. That was true a while ago, and people still rely on retail and footfall, but now you have the added e-commerce and web channels as well. So I think since there's been this omni-channel conversion where web is really important, physical retail is really important, people are trying to encompass and solve for all channels wherever their customers may be. So they're trying to service their customer base irrespective of where the customer is located and how the customer finds them. And I think that's been a real shift in how companies have thought about technology, because they've realized that they should be nimble enough to source from anywhere, manufacture from anywhere, sell to anywhere. So, which means they need to be fast and efficient in getting product created to physical
Mhm.
product at the customer's hands, wherever those customers may be. And like I said, I think COVID has just been an acceleration of that shift. But we've seen increasing demand for that, even prior to COVID. And I don't see that demand waning in any which way, shape, or form. It's not just because COVID, there was a temporary blip in demand. I just think that
Mhm.
people and companies and even the users within the organizations, the actual employees working in these companies, they want to be able to use good quality, easy to use enterprise software to make their work easier. Everyone's so used to their mobiles and using these consumer apps, whether they want to communicate with their friends or colleagues through WhatsApp. There's so many easy tools to get your daily consumer activities done using technology. But
Mhm.
enterprise has always lacked a bit and always lagged. And I think that's where SaaS has kind of come in to help accelerate and lower the barrier of adoption. And fashion industry has been a beneficiary of that entire trend, because now companies can easily, more easier than before, adopt these new technologies. These technologies are more affordable.
Mhm.
The technologies are built on the back of these modern web stacks, which means they're easier to integrate. The minute we talk about SaaS and talk about a cloud native product like WFX's solutions, we're talking about something that's been designed ground up to be super
Sure.
intuitive, to be
Mhm.
integratable with all of their other internal and external systems, and at the core, be collaborative in nature. Because
Mhm.
you're working with so many different parties in your supply chain, the software solution that encompasses your work environment needs to have an inherent DNA of collaboration around it, so you can leverage off of the knowledge of all of these distributed people and bring them together on one platform. So I think that's kind of what's helped this shift, a combination of SaaS, the direction, the industry, the competitive landscape, and
Mhm.
everyone using this in their home life, and they want to extend that to their work.
So, WFX Cloud Software automates product development, sourcing, and production for fashion companies. Do you think SaaS is playing a transformative role in fashion technology? And how has it really helped the industry in improving business processes?
Without a doubt. I mean, I see even in our own company, the amount of investments we're doing in technology, even as a technology company, is crazy. We look at automating every single thing we can and using software to enable us to do that. So
Mhm.
when we talk to our customers, we talk to our partners, we talk to people in the industry, they want to do more. They're hungry for more. So part of WFX's strategy, we have several products. If we just talk of manufacturing, we have an entire ERP suite. We have a production control suite to help people boost production efficiency. We have a quality management suite to help people improve quality. So we have sets of different products that we've offered, including virtual showroom products to help you pitch new products to your customers digitally rather than having them physically fly to you and look at what products you have to offer, to do it digitally as well. So we see us as a company expanding on our basket of services, our products and offerings, because that demand we see from our customers. Our customers are hungry. They want more. they want to be able to digitize every aspect of their business and their supply chain. So that gives me really primary evidence to show that we don't see any slowing down of tech adoption in our industry, at least.
Well, as you mentioned, WFX cloud software automates product development, sourcing, and production for fashion companies. And clearly, SaaS is playing a hugely transformative role in fashion tech. So, could you share some use case scenarios which explain what are the driving factors of WFX success in SaaS at a global level?
Sure, we've got over 600 customers, so there's so many use cases and so many solutions and benefits that we've brought to people. But if I just give you a recent example, uh, one of our customers and companies who we know is opening factories internationally. They're going beyond their local geography in India and Sri Lanka, and they're opening factories closer to their customers. They want to go nearshore a little bit, so they're opening factories in Haiti, in South America. So here's an example of a use case where very, very quickly they were able to launch an entire new set of manufacturing operations because they had the leverage of WFX's cloud technology behind them. Directly on the system, they were able to open a new manufacturing unit, and from day one, they were able to understand what's happening on the shop floor in that unit. How is inventory moving? Ensure that they're optimizing efficient procurement. Ensure that they're minimizing any form of wastage, creating complete visibility and analytics around what's happening with factories all over the world. So here's an example of a company with which, without WFX, they would not have been able to launch a new factory and a new facility as quickly and as efficiently as they've been actually able to do. So that's an example of a particular use case. I'll give you another example of other use cases. Maybe on the brand side, we've got some customers who have recently connected over 150 vendors in their supply chain on WFX. So they've gone and they're using WFX to manage and create all of their new products and collections. But now they've linked up to 150 different supply chain partners. So when they want to understand what's happening with sampling, when they want to place orders, when they want to monitor production, they can do it fluidly and frictionless. So that's another example of a use case where we've been able to shorten their lead times from the time they actually create product to the time the product physically hits their customers. We've been able to compress that time down. And that's super important for this industry because the fashion life cycle has actually sped up.
So, as we were just discussing, clearly technology has become very widespread in the fashion industry. So, could you tell us a little bit more about what role does AWS play in your journey, and how do you see the partnership going forward?
Yeah, so AWS has been a good technology partner for us. Because we are cloud native, the whole promise is near 100% uptime for our customers, um, access available everywhere. And AWS has been a really good infrastructure partner to provide the level of infrastructure and services that we can promise our customers the level of uptime, security, and speed that they actually demand and expect from companies like WFX. So in that sense, we've been really able to rely on AWS's entire infrastructure support to help us do that and at scale.
So WFX was founded in 2000. It provides a modern and easy to use cloud-based suite of software solutions for digitally enabling global fashion brands. But going forward, what do you have in store? Do you plan to also focus on other industries apart from apparel?
Where we have over 600 customers all over the world. So we get a lot of direct feedback on where they want to go with technology. So we want to definitely be the source and the partner for them to help them digitize in all areas possible. So the way we foresee ourselves moving forward is expanding those products and services and further partnering with our customer base in the industry. As far as the industry is concerned, there's a long way to go in fashion. So we are not looking at diversifying into other industry areas. Fashion is a huge market. It's a global market. There are these businesses everywhere in the world. So as far as we're concerned, we've just touched the tip of the iceberg.
So, Mr. Jatin, sustainable fashion is a widely used term. People are getting extremely serious about it. It is no longer just a buzzword. And we can see clothes made from bamboo, sneakers made from sugarcane. So we would like to understand from you how WFX is helping brands achieve their sustainability goals.
Sure. So sustainability is indeed a super hot topic. And WFX is definitely helping companies, both brands as well as manufacturers, achieve their sustainability initiatives through technology. Now, what's happening is it's not just a desire by our customers. Firstly, especially if you look at a region like Europe, there are actual regulations coming into place, real legislature that's being passed that's going to mandate a lot of brands and their supply chain partners, which means by virtue down to their manufacturing partners, to drive sustainability initiatives. So on the brand side, what that means is a number of things. One is creating transparency across the supply chain. So what's also being pushed by consumers is that they want to know where their products were made. People, profit, planet. So consumers want to know, if I'm buying something from a particular brand, I want to know that it was made ethically. I want to know who touched this particular product. I want to know all the materials that are the input materials to this product. I want to know where they were made. And I want to know that the conditions at those factories are right in terms of social, health, worker safety. So this whole ethical, social compliance and sustainability is sort of one basket that is becoming ever more important, and regulations already coming into place. So brands, brands have to, at this point, on one side, being driven by demand from consumers who want to know this information. On the other side, law, which is going to mandate for them to publish things like how many people touched this particular product, who made it, where was it made, what are the conditions at those places. So WFX is helping provide this traceability and transparency to help brands map their entire supply chain so they can track exactly the source of those products. And because the supply chain is so fragmented, the brand may just work with a tier one manufacturer, and the manufacturer has their supply chain partners. They might get raw material from 10 different sources. They might get fabric from a separate mill, trims from separate places. So the idea is it's a complicated problem, but it's a problem that we are working to solve with them, which is understand exactly their multi-tier supply chain and understand which material of which part of that supply chain has come into that product and what does that material comprise of, right? How much plastic was put in this particular product that you're buying? And with that, there are certain standards that sort of come alongside those initiatives. So the first step is just creating visibility to the entire supply chain and the material components that comprise of these products that companies are selling.
Great. Thank you so much, Mr. Jatin Paul, for taking us through this entire journey of WFX, a global leader in fashion technology. And clearly, BPA can enable businesses to automate day-to-day IT processes and also help them maximize efficiency, reduce cost, and ensure smooth operations. So thank you so much for joining us today, and thank you all for watching. Welcome back to the CNBC-TV18.com presents the SaaS Chronicles powered by AWS. And I'm Ruchira Sharma. SaaS is solving problems for enterprises and startups domestically and globally, and bringing this phenomenal growth story to the forefront with insightful and engaging conversations with leaders from the SaaS universe is the season 2 of SaaS Chronicles. So today our focus is on data. Data is an organization's most valuable corporate asset, and if used correctly, it can transform a business and lead to stupendous growth. Yet, many businesses struggle to manage and protect data. Data stored on cloud, specifically if not protected, is highly vulnerable to ransomware and cyber attacks. So, with the changes that are happening in the computing and threat landscape, data protection needs to make some revolutionary strides. SaaS-based data storage and management solutions can help protect data across multiple clouds by eliminating complexity and boosting data resilience. So that is our focus on this exciting conversation, ramping up data resiliency, which is an eminent need for businesses acing their digital game. So for that, we have a very special guest. We have Mr. Jaspreet Singh, founder and CEO, Dhruva. Welcome to the show, Mr. Jaspreet.
Thank you for having me here. I appreciate it. Thank you.
So just to set the context, data is the new oil, for companies, for expansion and growth. Extracting, refining, and distributing it has become extremely crucial. So, if you could give us some context, technologies such as cloud are at the core of Druva, and the Druva data resiliency leverages the simplicity and scalability of the public cloud. So, could you shed some light on what was that specific moment that sparked the creation of Druva, and also elaborate on your commitment to cloud, really?
Absolutely. So, Ruchira, if you look at digitalization in general, right? We hear about digitalization or cloud as sort of core industry trends. But if you double click and if you look underneath, you look at companies like probably Domino's, right? You think of them as pizza companies, but actually digitalizing to make sure that anybody in the world can deliver pizzas. But how can Domino's deliver pizzas under 30 minutes across the globe? It's a software problem, it's a technology problem, it's a cloud problem, right? How do you truly make supply chain delivery models go online? At the core of digitalization across the enterprise, it's a data problem, right? How do I make sure my data, which is my core and fundamental to my business processes and supply chain, being online, available, connected in the right ecosystem, it becomes a core data re-architecture challenge. And at the center of data is, how do I enable it to thrive? At the same time, how do I make sure it's always on, always available, always ready in the case of business to grow and thrive? So at Druva, we were passionate about in the trend for digitalization of businesses and sort of how data re-architecture is happening. And we felt that fundamentally managing information, managing data was a massively difficult challenge for enterprises to solve. And it was called a 7-vendor challenge, where they deployed multiple solutions to make it work. We wanted to make it radically simple, secure, and cost effective to make sure data is sort of never lost. You have to never worry about information being available anytime in the future. And that was the genesis behind Druva.
Great. Thank you so much for taking us through, what led to the inception of Druva. And of course, as you said, data is very, very crucial and needs to be, safe at all times and available in real time at the click of a finger. But could you tell us how the relevance of cloud has grown over the years? Because, of course, we are witness to this entire public cloud revolution.
Like as Da Vinci said, simplicity is the ultimate form of sophistication, right? While complex could be competent, right? And the world was used to a lot of complexity of managing information by deploying software, by deploying hardware, deploying services, and make sure they have a whole patchwork of systems to make sure somehow data comes to life every single time. We felt it was far too complex. The promise of cloud was a promise of simplicity. And the promise of simplicity, while complex could be competent, simple was genius here, right? How do we make it radically easy for any application in any location in any cloud to feel safe against any threat across the world, right? And while the complexity was all about scale, how do I manage scale and security? We felt the fundamentals of cloud. Like if we break down cloud, we don't think of cloud as just a technology, revolution. It's also a business revolution. That how do you consume a certain SLAs at scale across the globe? So Druva is built on Amazon Web Services, and sort of we use those fundamental principles to make sure that not only can we actually deliver technology which customers appreciate, but it's not the end goal, but actually deliver a promise of a very strict SLA customers can live by. SLA they can trust and say that, hey, my data is safe and secure. And cloud was fundamental, and Amazon was fundamental to actually make sure that the promise is of a business promise, not a technology itself promise.
All right. Mr. Jasprit, if I could ask you to demonstrate, a few unique advantages that Druva Data Resiliency Cloud offers a CXO looking to get protection against ransomware, what would they be?
They would be in form of simplicity, security, and savings, right? Let me break it down now. The simplicity argument is that the data is getting fragmented across on-premises environment, data centers, and deployment of new cloud-based applications. And this sort of bifurcation or defragmentation or diversification of data makes it far more complex to manage. Now, a cloud-like model, Druva offers a simple SaaS-based service to protect information across the globe, makes it radically simple to deploy a new service to make sure data is always on, always available. Now, in the motion of security, it's becoming very, very hard to sort of manage new and new threats coming to life, right? And while yes, you can build it yourself, you can deploy a software yourself, running a SaaS subscription service for information protection, make sure you utilize the best practices, and the entire end-to-end operations of managing information is managed through Druva, right? At the same time, the savings element of it, while you can go to 7 different vendors and deploy an entire solution, a simple service being run and deployed in public cloud, make sure it's scalable, it's cost effective, and it's just in time. You can scale up, scale down, have true consumption-oriented pricing. So the notion of public cloud, the notion of SaaS in Druva's context delivers simplicity, savings, and security, to the point that we were so confident about our offering that we now offer customers almost a $10 million guarantee across the true SLAs we uphold for every single customer.
All right. So simplicity and security are definitely the pillars that it is based on. But let me bring in some numbers here. Based on a recent IDC survey of 500 global IT leaders sponsored by Druva, 46% of the organizations were attacked in the last 3 years, and 50% of these lost their data. So what would be your advice to a CXO who's reevaluating their data protection strategy?
It's a great question. So it's almost, as you look at the survey and also other public figures, like it's almost seems that a ransomware event or a security event, be it ransomware, be it exfiltration event, be it insider attack, is almost inevitable, right? And it's how you prepare against it. While the fundamental investment in security has been to detect and prevent an attack, it sort of hasn't worked. So CIOs and CISOs must think about also remediation and response. And if an incident comes through and they might lose data, how can they respond quickly, get on their feet faster? While there are many operational challenges there, the core fundamental of getting back on the feet depends upon a robust data protection mechanism they can trust, deploy, and use at scale when an incident happens, right? And which is where sort of Druva comes in to make sure that the data protection layer, the last line of defense, is always on, always working to make sure the comfort around data is never lost.
Sure. But while we discuss security in detail, ransomware isn't the only risk that organizations face. Issues like human error, application outages, site failures, and to an extent, even natural disasters or something like the pandemic also need to be considered. So what are the kind of organizational strategies that can enable companies to assess the environment and mitigate risks in the future?
It's a great question. I think the data is as data becomes centerpiece for the entire enterprise strategy. Incident on data from many different threats also impacts many different departments. You could have a legal risk, a privacy risk, a security risk, and many forms of security risk, right? So the enterprises must think about a holistic strategy around data, right? The security investment so far has been on network and endpoints to secure the peripheral enterprise, while the risk may actually arise in the data. So the enterprise strategies around retention, response, remediation, recovery must be completely thought through, and more than thought through, must be exercised very frequently. Whatever vendors enterprise deploy must be tested and verified efficiently, consistently, and throughout the life cycle.
Sure. Thank you for taking us through that. But as you mentioned, Druva can advance an organization's cyber data and operational resilience without any hardware, software, or other associated complexities. So what are the common pain points or challenges really that Druva is most focused on helping their customers overcome?
So that's a good question, Ruchika. If you break down any cyber attack, right, there are multiple levels of risk. There's a level of risk around Is my software deployed appropriately to recover? But then there's also operational risk. That the team responsible for my primary environment, let's say I have a breach in a database, right? The team responsible for database, or the same team responsible for backup in DR, then the risks are people risk. And if people made some mistakes in one area, may have copied through in other areas, right? So there are operational risks. And then there are also infrastructure risk. If I have my entire data, my application stack, my entire enterprise on a single network, it is very easy for any threat to propagate or infect or sprawl pretty easily. So, in many ways, a SaaS-based approach for data protection, or as we call a cloud-based approach for data protection, is a social distancing for your data, right? We capture information in your primary environment, store in the public cloud environment of Druva, and we make sure we are fully responsible operationally, technologically, otherwise, to make sure the data is safeguarded in a different network, a different location, completely with a vendor like Druva. So while a threat may impact the primary enterprise, the recovery can be easily managed because it's a completely separate siloed environment.
All right. But considering the post-pandemic extremely volatile landscape, businesses need extremely resilient solutions these days. Anything less is actually unlikely to work out in the long run. So how do you think the landscape has evolved over the years? And how are you at Druva helping organizations navigate the current challenges?
So it's a great question again. I think the digitalization is sort of here to stay. The pandemic actually did accelerate the whole digitalization effort, and now post-pandemic with supply chain disruptions and economic disruption, recession is yet one more reason for enterprises to sort of rethink their digitalization strategy and probably accelerate the digitalization strategy. Right? And as I discussed, the core and fundamental to digitalization is a data argument. So we believe in this post-pandemic, recessionary environment, customers would actually care about digitalization far more than they have in the past, and yet one more reason to actually get going in the cloud journey. And as sort of the data argument is sort of reconsidered, rethought through, it will also bring up a data protection discussion, which is very much tied to their data discussion into the cloud environment.
All right. So just before we wrap up, one last question. Let's try kind of take a crystal ball and gaze into the future. So what are the areas or solution offerings that you believe are still untapped for Druva? And where would you want to aggressively drive your next phase of investments, considering your 5-year future growth outlook? So let's take a look into the future plans of Druva.
So 5 years is a massive amount of period, and we believe there are many levels of disruption coming in 5 years. The customers are on a path to digitalization, and they will go from on-prem to cloud to a multi-cloud world, and solving for multi-cloud challenges will become a critical notion. As the data gets more and more fragmented, data management, data protection has to be more and more centralized. And we believe that's sort of one core fundamental trend. The second fundamental trend would be all around the new evolving threat landscape. As threats tend to evolve, you're thinking around data and what you're safeguarding, who must get access to what, and sort of how do I respond to multiple threats will evolve pretty rapidly. So security will become paramount, more and more important, and security will be very closely tied together to data. Almost 1 in every 4 customers will get breached pretty much every year, right? That becomes a very critical argument to think about data-centric security. We believe machine learning is a very core trend, and machine learning sort of can truly help in this data context to understand the threat landscape very well. Like in security, like you could get compromised anywhere in the world, but you're mostly worried about the crown jewel, like where is the center focal point for my most privileged assets. And the data, as it grows, it becomes extremely difficult to understand what am I storing at what location and how is it critical to me. And we believe the machine learning and AI are becoming critical part of understanding of information, understanding of criticality of information, and what do I consider higher order priority to protect. And then there are many disruptions behind it, from Web 3.0 and blockchain sort of truly rethinking, the data supply chain issues. The bottom line is data is becoming far more interesting and far more compelling than ever time in the future. And protecting information, understanding supply chain, understanding privacy, understanding data protection creates a humongous opportunity for players like Druva to really rethink the whole strategy, especially when it comes down to public cloud and growth of public cloud.
Definitely. Thank you so much for a very interesting and informative conversation. That was Mr. Jaspreet Singh, founder and CEO at Druva. And our topic was ramping up data resiliency. Just to sum up, enterprises are rethinking data and security strategies in the cloud. And as cloud native services create highly resilient environments, it is possible to ensure that all backups are encrypted, immutable, air gapped, and monitored closely by advanced AI and machine learning technologies. So thank you all for joining in, and thank you so much for watching.
Thank you.
You're watching CNBC-TV18.com presents the SaaS Chronicles powered by AWS. And I'm your host, Ruchira Sharma. The SaaS Chronicles Season 2 shines the spotlight on SaaS success stories and aims to understand how leaders from this universe have pivoted to growth. These dialogues aim to highlight how the India SaaS transformation is driven by the three pillars of people, processes, and technology. And today, our discussion is focused on how to grow your digital footprint and how that demands better testing mechanisms. So, as more and more companies go digital, consumer expectations are constantly evolving. New age digital consumers expect intuitive and seamless experiences across devices and platforms, and that too in real time. And this requires a lot of effort from software and web tester teams. In fact, failure to comply or meet volatile consumer demands can cost a business dearly. So clearly, continuous testing platforms that are backed by cloud can help developers to conduct automated tests across real devices, emulators, simulators, and desktops. And these have become very popular as we speak. So, to understand the various nuances of how better testing mechanisms can help companies increase their digital footprint, I'm joined by Mr. Vipul Verma, SVP Engineering at Lambertest. Thank you, Mr. Vipul, for joining us. It's great to have you here with us.
Thank you, Ruchira, for hosting me. It is really wonderful to talking to you.
All right, so let me begin this conversation with a quick overview of what Lambertest is and how its key solution offerings is actually helping other businesses to resolve their testing challenges.
Certainly. So Lambda Test is a cloud test execution platform which provides capability and ability where developers and testers across the world, they can do manual testing and automation testing of their web application, desktop application, or mobile application. So we support all different kind of application that you can support, that you can test on any operating system or browser or real device like iOS device or Android device. We support virtual devices as well. And at the same time, in automation testing, you can use any testing framework and programming language and verify the quality of your application from our platform in a very, very easy and fast manner.
Great. So thank you for taking us through the inception of Lambertest, but it's also a very interesting and unique name. So could you share the story behind the name and how that really came about?
Certainly. So lambda, if you see, it's a scientific symbol. It is used in physics, atomic science, technology, mathematics, and even in programming languages. So it signifies that it's a very, very scientific and symbol It also means in technology, in software technology, it means also serverless computation. So the idea of choosing Lambda Test as a name of the company was that we are very, very deep tech company, right? We have built such a large platform which can cater all the needs of testing space, be it web testing, mobile testing, API testing, security testing. So picking the Lambda keyword was to signify that it is a deep tech solution, and this solution is made for solving um, all the technology problems that testers and developers are facing to verify the quality of their software.
All right, great. So a deep tech solution explains the name, but moving on to our next question, the company has also been able to cater to a wide spectrum of customers, ranging from individual developers, testers, to startups, and even to bigger enterprises. So, what is the secret behind the success in successfully being able to cater to the challenges met by such a large spectrum of customers?
Absolutely. So I would say there are three things why our customers love us, why we are able to get the customers from different segment of market, be it like freelancers or very, very small companies or startups or medium-sized companies or enterprises. Um, First thing is performance. Um, we are fastest text execution platform in the world. Uh, Compared to our competitors, we would be at least 50 to 70% faster. So that is one reason. Second is the reliability of our services and software. We are more than 99.99% having uptime. Second is the test failure ratio is less than 0.004%. So
All right.
that gives uh, basically kind of a reliable. We have made it such a reliable system that customer never face any kind of intermittent failure. So that gives them a more confidence in their um, quality of the code that they are going to release in the production. Third one, I would say customer service. We are customer obsessed company. Uh, we we uh, take care of each and every problem of customer, and even before customer realize that they are facing the issue, we have set up deep level monitoring and observability of all the tests that are running in the system, so that our engineering team gets the alert if something goes bad in the system even before customer realize it, and they raise out a support email or customer ticket. Our engineering team looks at all such issues and resolve. Uh, it does not matter at what time it happened. So
All right.
customer service, reliability, and performance are the three pillars why I believe we would be able to cater and grab such a big market.
Great. So, moving on to another question about your customers. With the rapid pace of innovation and the ever evolving technology, how do you really manage to stay relevant for all your stakeholders and customers?
Absolutely. No, this is a very good question. Market is changing very fast. So we have to keep on taking actions as the market shifts. So now we're understanding lot, all this development has now shifted towards left. So the idea is now developers want testing to be begin the moment developer has created a pull request or committed a code, right? Gone are those days when there used to be big development cycle, and lots of code will get accumulated, and then they will be deployed on a stage environment, and then QA will test, and then it will go to UAT, and then it will go to production. um, that used to take like 2 weeks of cycle, right, to take the code to production. But now um, in the new shift that uh, technology have been seeing from the last 5 6 years, everyone wants very quick delivery of their code to production, so they want to reduce the lead time, and for that they want developers want all the testing to happen very, very fast and much early in the development cycle, right? So that is the idea why we have come up with a new product, Hyper Execute, which is like 2x faster compared to like any other standard end-to-end text execution platform, and it is more closer towards the development.
The cloud testing tool market is expected to grow at 13.5 CAGR during 2022 and 2027, and is expected to become worth a whopping $19.85 billion by the year 2027. So those are some great numbers over there. But do you think the increasing adoption of cloud computing across multiple industries like BFSI, healthcare, e-commerce, and retail is going to help the cloud testing tool market to grow by leaps and bounds?
Absolutely. So if you see after what happened in the COVID is uh, the companies which had presence in the offline market, they had to come in the online market because all the shops were shut down. There was no human interaction. Everything was available digitally only, right? So that gave us even bigger push that even those companies which did not have digital presence, they had to go and become uh, available on digital market, like via web application or mobile app. So
Mm.
we have seen a big shift right after COVID, that every company now a software company, right? So that gives that opens a even bigger market, right? Now
Mm.
everyone understands uh, the requirement and the need to ship the code to production with high quality and at much lower time, right? And for that they need a reliable, a scalable, secured cloud testing platform.
But how do you envision Lambda Test in this current scheme of things? And what are your key strategies to gain market share, specifically since the segment is so fast growing as we speak?
Absolutely. So that's so the idea is we have built a platform which can solve any kind of testing platform. We have not built a solution which will specifically solve one type of testing problem. Rather, we have built a platform where all different kind of testing need can be served. We are solving lots of complex cases as well of testing, so that um, even the customers, if they have very particular requirement of testing their infrastructure or services, they can also do on the Lambda Test Cloud. And as I told you, like we have now seen the left shift in the development cycle. So for that, we are also coming up with the new innovative tool like Hyper Execute and Test at Scale, which is more closer towards developers than QA.
Definitely. So let us take a look at the current, opportunity challenge landscape as companies like yours need to navigate the post-pandemic scenario to scale to greater heights. So, having raised Series C funding for about 45 million in March 2022, what, according to you, are the biggest challenges that your company is facing, and how do you aim to solve the challenges that the consumers are also facing?
Correct. So the challenges that we are facing is definitely after COVID is a new culture that has come into engineering process, that is like remote work. And there is no denying that now world is working in hybrid mode, right? There will be a few people who are okay to work from office, but they are good segment of people who will prefer work from home. So we are making this company very, very remote friendly, so that the employees who are not in the office and working from home, they are equally productive. They are equally able to understand like what's going on in the company. It's easy to
Right.
collaborate, easy to communicate, meet. So that is the one area we are focusing a lot uh,
Mm.
to basically make our employees more productive. And at the same time, for developers, the next set of problems we are solving of scale. Currently, we run around 5 lakh tests per day on our system, which we are expecting to grow 5 million by next 6 to 12 months. So we are now also getting ready to 10x scale within next 6 months.
Great, that's wonderful. But as you resolve challenges for your end consumers, could you also elaborate on the partnership with AWS and how has this particular partnership enabled you to, achieve your targets?
Absolutely. We have very deep in partnership with AWS. Uh, we have more than 5 AWS accounts. Almost we have resources in almost all the region. We use n number of services from AWS. Also, we have become very close partner with AWS in terms of deep level technology and product integration. And also we Lambda test is also present in their marketplace. So AWS is helping us a lot to solve a complex technology problem, and they are reliable, very reliable cloud, and we are very happy to have this partnership with AWS.
All right, so one last question. Both manual and automated testing have their own significance, really, in the world of web application testing. So, while manual testing is important for application elements such as look, feel, or usability, automated testing shortens release cycles and helps ship code much faster. So, how would you define a well balanced test strategy, and how is Lambda Test addressing the same, for its consumers?
Absolutely. You raised very good point. There has to be a balance between automation testing and real time manual testing as well. So the idea should be that any company, whenever they are developing a new features or fixing a bugs, definitely it has to go tested manually because it's a new thing that tester has to test. But at the same time, uh, testing team has to make sure that they do not have to repeat it again, right? So that's why there's a huge big culture of automation testing, right? So you have to quickly catch up all the new development that is happening, and write the automation test so that you do not have to manually test it every time. So generally idea is that uh, any new changes that is happening one time, it could be manually tested, but at the same time you have to keep on covering all the backlog, so that you do not have to spend time in testing it again, the same features. And on how we are helping our users in manual testing and automation testing by providing awesome real-time experience in manual testing. They have super performance of browsers that is running on the virtual machine or a Mac machine or real device which is hosted on the cloud. So they get a very good feel and touch experience of interactive. All our manual testing sessions are very interactive. At the same time, on automation side, we support all testing frameworks, programming language, operating system. We have integration with almost every CI/CD tool that is there in the market. We have capability in the system which can let our tester test their private resources using the tunnel, or they can also do simulate the traffic from particular location. So we have provided a holistic ecosystem so that
Mhm.
uh, it can cater any and every kind of request from the customers.
Great. Thank you so much, Mr. Vipul Verma, for this very insightful conversation on growing digital footprint demands better testing mechanisms. Clearly equipped with the right strategy, companies can overcome market uncertainties to ensure business continuity, even in the current, constantly changing business environment. Coming up next is a related and exclusive perspective in the next track, focusing on technology. Thank you all for watching. on the other side, we continue to discuss some phenomenal SaaS stories while zooming in the lens on people, processes, and technology, the three pillars of the vibrant SaaS ecosystem. As India is poised to become the second largest SaaS nation in the world by the year 2026, we are clearly in the throes of a SaaS revolution. With more than 8 to 9,000 companies building for the world from India, estimates suggest that these companies will generate $50 to $70 billion of revenue, which is about 4 to 6% of the global market by the year 2030. So those are some promising numbers. And now let us focus on another very crucial aspect for all businesses, and that is revolutionizing business interaction with customers, which brings in the focus on CPaaS. CPaaS, or Communication Platform as a Service technology, is leveraged by many organizations across the world. By the year 2026, it is expected to exceed the $34 billion mark in terms of revenue. CPaaS is a cloud-based delivery model that lets one add voice, video, and messaging features to an existing business software using APIs. So to understand more about this fast-growing space, I'm joined by a very special guest, Mr. Vish Bajaj, CEO at Value First. Welcome to the show, sir. It's great to have you here with us.
Pleasure. Thank you so much.
So, Mr. Vish, you have 30 years of experience in the IT and telecom industry. So it'll be great if you could share some insights on how CPaaS has come into existence, how the telecom industry has evolved as a result, with the advent of CPaaS.
Sure. So first of all, for me personally, I was very fortunate to be at the confluence of IT and telecom in my earlier part of the career. I was employed by Siemens and I worked on something called intelligent network technology, which was basically putting IT in front of a telecom switch. So I think that set the scene for me to eventually, when I set up my own entrepreneurial venture, to focus on how IT can leverage telecom. And CPaaS is nothing but actually a super fusion of telecom and the IT working together to produce several, I would say, leapfrogging kind of use cases for enterprises. So as a company, when we set out in the beginning, we brought out SMS in the cloud, where we would offer programmable APIs to our customers who could embed our APIs into their IT systems, whether it be ERP, banking software like Finacle, etc. And through this fusion of our API with their IT, they could deliver services or start communicating with their consumers. So basically, telecom was IT enabled in some sense. So CPaaS is nothing but communication platform as a service, which is a very specific example of SaaS, where we offer cloud-based telecom services, and of late we have started adding OTT players like WhatsApp, etc., also in the fold. So essentially, any kind of communication service through programmable APIs can be leveraged by enterprises.
So just to simplify, CPaaS enables companies to turn devices and apps into communication tools by kind of cherry picking real-time communication features and embedding them into their apps and services. So could you take us through what really propelled you to launch this extremely unique platform that brings all the aspects of business communication together?
So I think in the earlier world, people were putting hardware in the enterprise setup. For example, to do IVR, it was essential to put boxes within the network of the corporate. And all of this was very difficult to maintain, expensive, and so on. So it was clearly pointing to, ever since cloud communications began, that if we could democratize it by removing on-premise equipment. So it was a very compelling use case for providers like us to remove on-premise models, which were very hard to maintain, expensive from a capex angle, and so on, and change it to programmable APIs.
So, post the pandemic, more and more businesses have been looking for better ways to communicate with their customers. And of course, CPaaS plays a very important role here. So, could you take us through some new use cases that have come into light post the pandemic, and how have you at Value First addressed such cases?
Sure. So I think digital transformation has been a key agenda for several companies all along. And post pandemic, I think most of the enterprises had to fast track their journey on digital transformation. So essentially, enterprises were looking forward to reaching out to their consumers for lead generation, and not only stopping at lead generation, but actually to convert the lead into sale through digital mediums. So as a company, we were able to listen to our customers and accordingly build solutions for this kind of specific digital transformation ask which the customers had. And CPaaS being what it is, it was very much possible using CPaaS as the underlying technology to deliver use cases, particularly in the field of what we call as direct to consumers. So a lot of enterprises were reaching out to their consumers in social media, in through SMS, through voice calls, and all of this required CPaaS technology. So we built very specific direct to consumer use cases and enabled not only lead generation but the entire journey from lead to sales closure. So I think this is an aspect which we have seen develop rapidly within the pandemic days, and it continues to remain like a very aggressive growth market.
Sure. So, thanks for taking us through the current scenario. But do you think that such new use cases are here to stay for the long term, or do you think that the post pandemic scenario will be different?
So I think direct to consumer will continue to stay. It is already seeing significant traction. In fact, even if we look at the VC investment in the industry, it has been at a record level. So I
Yes.
think direct to consumer use cases. Apart from that, we also foresee that digital communication will continue to grow at a rapid pace.
Great. Absolutely. Digital communication is the future. And let's talk about another very important aspect. As you said, more and more new players are entering this rapidly evolving CPaaS space. How is Value First navigating this competitive landscape? And how do you constantly innovate at Value First and manage the constantly changing development cycles for new features?
Sure. So essentially, in our business, service is key. So that is one aspect which we try to excel on. Our CSAT scores are above 88%, and that I think we take pride on. But apart from that, having a complete bouquet of services, meaning as a CPaaS player, you need to offer SMS, voice, video, WhatsApp, and other OTT channels under one platform so that customers can integrate at one API level and access all these services which they may want to use to reach out to their consumers. So having a complete bouquet of
All right.
services or products is key. So I think Value First has been very much focused on that. And in general, innovation at Value First is like way of life. In general, we have very empowered teams. So what we have been doing is to check any kind of new idea, we create rapid prototyping, and within that, for example, we would assign champion teams and so on, and they would work together and create the minimum value proposition. And once it is done, accepted, tested, then we would roll out it in our mainstream agile framework where features will continue to get added using agile methodology. And of course, we were very fortunate to participate in Amazon's digital innovation program, where we learned a lot of new best practices, which we are continuously now trying to embrace within our innovation cycle.
So let's talk about small businesses. Small businesses represent close to 90% of the businesses. They contribute to more than 50% of worldwide employment, and about 40% of the national GDP in emerging economies. So how is Value First catering to this very crucial and ever-growing segment of SMBs? And how are their requirements different from, the large-scale enterprises?
Yeah, this is a very interesting space. In fact, at Value First, what we noticed that typically their spending levels are low. So obviously, from a unit economics angle, it is very important that our cost of acquisition, cost of service remains relevant. So what we have been doing is pretty much automating as much as possible all our processes, internal processes, right from onboarding the SMB and then delivering a world class service to them. So I think to deliver a great service to SMB, it is very, very important to have automation within the business. Otherwise, it could be from a unit economics angle, it could play a little, uh, from profit contribution, etc. It could go wrong. So one has to be very mindful how we develop services and the capability to service the SMBs.
As you mentioned, SMBs, of course, require very customized solutions because they are in a different space as opposed to the larger players. But moving on to our next question, first of all, we'd like to congratulate you for last year's acquisition of Value First by Twilio, one of the leading companies in the CPaaS space. And it'll be great if you could throw some light on the upcoming ventures of Value First and Twilio, and how do you, intend to come together to help businesses across the world?
Yes, we were very fortunate that Twilio, when they wanted to enter India, they were looking for the right partner. And after their extensive diligence, they chose Value First. And it is a matter of pride for Value First that the global leader identified Value First as the go to market partner for India. And I think uh, now that we are one company and in the process of integrating with each other, what is important is how do we actually create some exciting opportunities, some exciting products for our customers. So I think in that regard, Twilio's portfolio is super extensive. Not only they have the capabilities around CPaaS, which we are now going to leverage on. In addition, they have some newer platforms which really add value to the CPaaS business in itself. For example, they have a platform called Segment, which is their CTP for personalization. And in fact, the entire CPaaS industry is in the process of automating itself, that not only the communication itself is important, but how the communication happens, whom the communication is made out to, all of that is also becoming significantly important. So in that regard, we are looking forward to bringing some of Twilio's products in India. And I think this will benefit our customers, existing customers, as well as help us service a lot of new customers.
Great. So all the very best to you with this,
Thank you.
a wonderful collaboration. But we also understand that you provide a horizontal solution catering to multiple industries across sectors. So is there any specific industry or sector that you wish to focus on right now? And if so, then why?
Yeah, generally we have been a vertical agnostic. Essentially, communication is a universal need. So, having said that, some of our customers who contribute large ARPUs to us are from BFSI and e-commerce because they are the ones with large consumer interactions happening
And
at their own requirement level. But
definitely.
in the last couple of years, post pandemic, what we have seen is the D2C, which I mentioned earlier also. This segment is rapidly growing. Significant capital investments have been made by several startups and also mainstream FMCG companies, which are now in the process of also becoming D2C. So, this particular vertical, we think, would be a very important vertical to focus on. So, as Value First, D2C is one space where we are going to be investing significantly. Further, I think we have seen that because of WhatsApp, the two-way interaction, the communication, which is now a conversation, has become the base for even conducting what we call as conversational commerce. So as Value First, we are launching a new platform called WhatsApp to create conversational commerce opportunities for SMBs. So I think this is our focus area for the going current year and going forward in the next couple of years.
Great. So conversational commerce, that sounds very exciting. But what are the underlying technology trends that you consider important for your company and for the entire CPaaS space?
Okay, so if you see as a communication player, especially when we are doing chatbots, which are driving conversations between consumer and the machine, AI and ML play a significant role. And I think in this particular regard, we are already working, for example, with the AWS. We have been piloting their technologies like Comprehend and Lex. So this is an area which has been very exciting. Apart from this, personalization is going to be key. That is a key trend. And again, we are working with AWS on their data lake and other products. Apart from that, voice, I think, particularly in India, given the vernacular communication nature of the country, will be very important. So, for lots of our voice bot solutions, once again, we are piloting on the speech recognition and text to speech aspects with the AWS.
Sure. So just before we wrap up, one last question. You mentioned the partnership with AWS. So how has that helped you accelerate the adoption of new technologies? And what are your plans for the future going ahead with this partnership?
Sure. So I think partly I mentioned how we are already working with AWS on voice, on personalization, AI, ML. But apart from that, the nature of our business, because in CPaaS, it is very difficult to forecast the traffic patterns. So there could be super bursty traffic requirements, meaning a lot of consumers may be wanting to engage with the platform in a given second. So to manage all that, we are also relying on AWS infrastructure services, where we are almost moving to what is called a serverless architecture. Further, I think as part of our engagement with the AWS, we have participated on AWS Partner Network, where as part of the global community, our teams have been able to significantly learn newer things. And I'm very happy to share that we have already launched 2 new products in almost like 2 months on the AWS marketplace. So as a company, I think as Value First and AWS continue to work together, we will continue to find the greater areas of opportunities for Value First to leverage AWS capabilities for us to, in the end, service our customers in the best possible way.
Definitely. Clearly, customer is the king, and revolutionizing business interaction with customers will lead to a better future for more and more companies. Thank you so much, Mr. Bajaj, for this very enlightening conversation. And just to sum up, CPaaS is very attractive to companies that already use a cloud-based technology stack and want to further customize their communications infrastructure. And it can definitely lead to greener and better horizons. So thank you so much for watching, and thank you for joining in.
Thank you.
Customer experience plays a very critical role in determining the success of any business. According to a recent report by KPMG, superior customer experience can help enterprises boost their valuation by 125% to more than 400%. In fact, more than 50% of a customer's purchase decision depends on the experience that they expect from a brand. So, as communication is a major driver of consumer experience, enterprises of all sizes are striving to connect with the customers efficiently, seamlessly, and more engagingly. And now that we're living in the era of tech and innovation, SaaS is playing a deeply important role in making business communication simple and secure, and also reliable. So, that is the topic of this discussion today, redefining customer communication and relationship with the power of SaaS. And to understand this space in great detail, we are in conversation with Mr. Sivakumar Ganesan, co-founder and CEO at Exotel. Welcome to the show, Mr. Ganesan.
Hi, Ruchira. Thank you so much for inviting me.
It's great to have you here with us. And let's talk a little about Exotel. You started your journey as a SaaS company way back when SaaS was not that popular in the country. So, what really led you to bet on SaaS or the power of SaaS so early on? And do you think the future is very bright when it comes to SaaS companies?
Absolutely. See, we've had a little bit of exposure to what happens in the Valley. I have a background of working with companies like Yahoo and Google and things like that. And I've also personally been a consumer of SaaS products. It's just that in those days, the word SaaS itself hadn't been very popular. But I was fully well aware of it because we were reading blogs and visiting the Valley and things like that. Additionally, I think SaaS is just a terminology. So once you are sort of committed to building cloud products, then one of the automatic ways in which you can distribute is through subscription and as a service. And so SaaS then becomes like an automatic consequence of cloud. And so at least when I was starting Exotel, we weren't really thinking about SaaS, non-SaaS and things like that. We were just going with the flow. We were building a product that consumers wanted and we wanted to take it to the market. And it just happens that SaaS is the best way to do that.
All right.
And to answer your other question, SaaS is here to stay. It will continue to prosper. I think all of us know that now. B2B SaaS is mainstream. Everybody's talking about it. So I do think that the delivery model is here to stay for at least the next 5-10 years.
So, what were the challenges that you faced while incorporating technology in communications, and how did you overcome them?
See, actually, communication technologies are somewhat different from building a pure software SaaS company. So, if you really think about it, we are what cloud providers like AWS are as well. So, our customers think of us as the communication cloud. Of course, we are built on top of AWS. So we've actually put in a lot of effort, the necessary plumbing. We actually manage wires and boxes in multiple data centers around the country. And we've done all of this hard work so that it becomes easier for our customers to come in, start using, sign up, and so on and so forth. Nowadays, it's commonplace for people to think of CPaaS as a normal delivery mechanism. But when we started, actually, the word CPaaS itself was not there. CPaaS stands for Communication Platform as a Service, which is a subsection of SaaS, if you will. So that's what we're doing. And so we're actually putting in a lot of effort for on behalf of our customers for reliability, for scalability, for security, so on and so forth. So it's a hard engineering problem to solve.
And what are the common mistakes that companies tend to make while engaging with consumers?
A couple of things that come to my mind is nowadays there is actually a proliferation of SaaS products. People have created categories, subcategories, subcategories, and sometimes I feel like a feature is being promoted as a company, and so there comes a point in time when you're just now using too many SaaS products for different parts of your company, and unfortunately, data is sitting as a silo. These products don't talk to each other well. Then you bring in IT services providers who is able to integrate all of these products. So it kind of becomes messy when the number of vendors, partners that you use increases too much. So one of the ways in which Exotel solves this problem is we have a vision to be the one-stop partner for our customers. So our vision, the word full stack is part of our vision. So we actually think of ourselves as full stack customer engagement platform. And this is precisely the problem that we are trying to solve, which is to say that, look, we're going to be able to now take ownership of whether you want to send messages on WhatsApp, whether you want to send SMS, whether you want to make phone calls, whether you want it as a contact center, whether you want it as a bot. So I think, we have now evidence that our customers are really loving it. So just to put this in perspective, about a year ago, 3 of our top 20 customers were using 2 of our products. Now, actually, all top 20 customers have used 2 of our products. In fact, some use 3, 4, and sometimes even 5. So I think the proliferation of SaaS partners, SaaS products is causing a problem now. It's a problem of plenty, actually.
So thank you for those pertinent points made by you, Mr. Kennison. You spoke about cloud solutions. So how does cloud really help customer engagement companies? And could you share some innovative use case scenarios with us where you were able to address the gaps primarily due to cloud?
Why don't I take the second question first? So I think the big mistake that people make is they think of one interaction as customer experience, and they try to better that, which I think is not how users perceive it. So think about it. Let's say you go to a website, you order a package, the package gets delivered. The entire experience is one customer engagement event, right? So right from the way how your website looks, how the ordering process is, whether you are notified of the order status updates, and how the package looks when it comes, this entire thing actually constitutes customer experience. And oftentimes people, partly because there are different teams managing this entire customer journey, people actually optimize in silos on each one of these events. But when the entire thing is put together, unfortunately, the experience is still experiences could be better. And so this is a problem. I think this is a common mistake that we are seeing across all of our customers, and this is one of the problems that we are actually passionately solving for. It also fits in with our full stack vision, which is to be able to say, how do we now, first of all, provide all of these applications that covers the entirety of customer journey, but more importantly, collect all of this data and make this data available across all of these systems, so that the agent is more aware of what's going on, the bot is more aware of what's going on, maybe even the delivery executive is more aware of what's going on.
So the government is also, extensively working towards improvising on the current ways of engagement and finding new ways. So how is that really impacting communication technology? And from a product standpoint, what are the areas that you are focusing on right now?
Yeah, so well, regulations and laws always have to play catch up with technology. That's just the way. That's just the way of the world, and that's what's happening right now as well. The interesting piece is that technology is also changing very, very rapidly now, and so first of all, I think the job of a regulator is becoming harder, and secondly, regulations are also changing quite rapidly as new technologies are coming in. So there have been some parts of old world regulations that have now gone away. For example, they are now finally rewriting the Indian Telegraph Act of, believe it or not, 1887, which the Britishers sort of came in and wrote, and many parts of that actually are still relevant to us in terms of law. But then there are other parts that are evolving not as fast, maybe. For example, what is our current status on whether OTT players are also supposed to, let's say, provide a law enforcement window for, let's say, the police if they want to now figure out, gather some information. So I think it's just kind of all over the place. But I must say that the regulations are catching up faster than what it used to be when I started Exotel 10 years ago. So my overall experience is that it's becoming better. And being a part of the communications industry, because it involves data, it's a little bit more than just software industry. So we're aware of that. And that's actually one of the problems of our customers as well, because ultimately these regulations touch upon customers. So one of the ways in which we add value is to, first of all, figure out all the laws and build products that is able to be conformant to these laws, so that our customers don't have to break their heads trying to figure out how to make it happen.
So thanks for that. But from a product standpoint, what are the areas that you are focusing on currently?
So I think I'm actually very deeply passionate about bringing in a fully cloud contact center experience for our customers. Like practically all contact centers in the country are all on-premise or hybrid. They are not really on the cloud. Ultimately, what this means is that companies have to deal with more IT infrastructure and more logistics. It takes time to take things live. there are scalability issues, there are security issues. We are actually deeply passionate about solving that problem. And I'm actually excited to tell you that we're bringing India's first true blue cloud contact center. Not just the software, not just the data, not even just the telephony, even the network will be taken care of by Exotel. I don't think currently any other provider, any other partner is able to do that for our customers, and so I'm quite excited about that.
That's wonderful, and congratulations on that. But let's also talk about another achievement of yours, which was developing the full stack WhatsApp suite, for a 360-degree customer engagement experience. So, could you tell us more about the key benefits that it offers, and how will it really help businesses streamline customer communications?
Nowadays, we are basically a part of, I don't know, Gen Z or the
Yes.
Instagram generation, right? So all of us are just so used to looking into a phone and typing into a phone all the time, that people just want to be in that habit when they also want to talk to, let's say, engage with businesses as well. So increasingly, we are finding that maybe the younger population wants to have chat-based interactions with businesses. They may even want to purchase products through a chat-based interface. So that's what the chat-first contact center is all about. It's about the ability to send messages from WhatsApp, maybe even from Twitter, Instagram, wherever else, and to be able to have conversations going on. And maybe we will also be able to power commerce through it as well. So this is what we are currently building. So this is omni-channel by design. So all of our products will be able to accommodate for a user sort of going from one channel to another channel. Ultimately, I think the point is about helping our customers reach their users, whichever medium they might be.
All right. So, Exotel is one of the most reliable cloud communications company, not only in India but also in Southeast Asia. So, according to you, what are the top factors that give it that cutting edge or make your company stay ahead of others?
So there are various factors. I think we are solving a very hard engineering problem. It's not easy to recreate that by everybody else. We've also been around for a really long time. I think timing plays a role as well. So I quit my Flipkart job and I started this. So in this sense, we've been around in the digital native, around with the digital native companies ever since all of these companies were getting created. So we've grown with them. We understand their challenges, and almost all of them use it. So sometimes I don't think Exotel gets enough credit for being the backbone of the startup ecosystem. But literally every company that you think of as a startup has been touched upon by the work that we've done at Exotel. Increasingly, however, BFSI customers are also adopting our technologies in a big way, and this has been propelled because of COVID. I think the propensity for people to think digital and act digital has substantially increased in the last 3-4 years. So that's also very, very exciting for us.
Sure. So just before we wrap up, one last question. What are your plans looking ahead and your growth expectations from the coming years? And how are you planning to scale up fast with, the collaboration that you have with AWS? And how critical is the collaboration to your plans?
So looking forward, we have to bring in our omni-channel contact center to the market, the true blue cloud contact center that I spoke about. We're trying to see how to incorporate aspects of AI into this mix. So can we actually now have AI converse with customers in their own language? Can we now ensure that whenever the AI can't have a conversation, it seamlessly migrates the context of the conversation to an agent, human agent, and vice versa? So these are some of the problems that the bright minds in my company are engaged on working for right now. We're also trying to expand our presence across emerging Asia. So we find that not just in India, but even in the Middle East, even in Southeast Asia, some of these customers are underserved. Some of these users in these markets do not necessarily have the best customer experience products available, let's say, in the West. So we're quite passionate to take all of the products that we're building to these markets as well. And AWS will be a core component of all of our activities, even as we now expand our geographies. I'd like to just share one instance with you. So we're actually very famous for supporting the three largest e-commerce players in the country. And during the shopping season, which is basically between Diwali and Dashera, the shopping volumes actually sometimes double. And I'm happy to share with you that all the three e-commerce partners, they send us a lot of accolades, congratulatory messages after the shopping season is over, because we really help them scale without any downtimes. In fact, from our standpoint, it'll be like business as usual. And the only reason why we are able to expand and contract, like literally our platform becomes twice the size during shopping season and then contracts back to the previous size. And I think all of this is happening because we're dependent on AWS. And so I think that's the power of the cloud.
Right. And that's also the power of SaaS, pay for what you use model. Thank you so much, Mr. Ganesan, for an insightful conversation and also helping us understand how cloud solutions are clearly revolutionizing the way businesses can build relationships with customers. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you, and happy SaaSing.
Yes, thank you so much.